Good morning, traders. What's going on? It's good week. It's time to get it started. And I know the markets are down, but we are not, of course, ready to keep battling here. And I want to hear who has the new unlimited max or flex program. Which one are you on? And what are you using? I'll tell you one thing. I'm building up here, guys. I'm been saving a little bit and wanting to go for the big boy, wanting to go for the 200,000. So not starting it today, but going to start it next week. And I want to tell you guys all about that. So this week we'll be building on getting ready, getting our system ready for the bigger account, right? We got to take it a little bit different, right? It's not just the same way in the smaller accounts. I'm going to be looking to take some bigger swings on what? Hourly supports, right? The cut down strategy. We'll talk a little bit about it today. We'll also talk about short strategies that you can be using in this market as the market continues to get beaten down, as stocks slide on trade war conversation. And it's not looking good, guys. It's looking like this could be pretty negative, at least I think until the second. I don't see what can turn us back right now. And it's not looking good out there right now, guys. It was an ugly, ugly day on Friday, as even I was looking to see if maybe PCE could get this to kind of lift right back up. And the area that I was a little bit concerned on, right? Consumer spending, it really wasn't the area that got hit on Friday on that report. So it was kind of interesting to see it really kind of flush down. We're really close to breaking through the lows, and we are looking like we're going to get through that and continuing down here on the daily as we really start breaking through. And those double bottom people are going to be watching that 549.68 level. We'll talk all about it. Let's get to the screens here. Let's see what is trading out there and what's on the playbook today. First up, let's just take a look at the SPY overall. It's not looking good here. At least we're getting a little bounce back on the shorter time frames. But look at here, guys, on the daily. It is ugly, ugly, guys. The bottom on this is 549. I had this red line drawn, and if we cut that, it would be the concern. We destroyed that on Friday. So now it's kind of like, okay, well, green line is going to stay up here at 576. We ever get back into there, I'm going to start getting bullish. But in the short term, it seems like we can be in a chop between this bottom area. So this kind of yellow line that we had as kind of a flagging pattern, essentially, we're just going to change that coloring here. We're just going to make that kind of be more of a white. I'm going to actually draw the flag completely as it stayed in this channel and really rejected off that 576. We saw a big rejection on that day. And ever since then, we've seen the complete turnaround here on this market. And it is not looking good as that flag broke down. And now we could look for bounces into that area. But for right now, it's going to be more along just continuing the downside action. 560s could be a bouncing area to look for some rejection starting to act as resistance. So now I'm going to actually be drawing a kind of a white line there and moving this red line back below this 549, right? And so we got to see what happens there. See if we can undercut the low. That's going to be 549.68. So I got it at 66 there. I'm going to edit it up here, 2 lines there. Bring the thickness a little down so you can really see it off that 68 level. And then we're going to delete this. And this is how it looks now, guys. So pretty much 560 area is where I could see some kind of support acting as some resistance on any bounce back. We'll see what happens on that one. That's going to be right into this area, but it doesn't look good here for the market as we start to break through. And what are we starting to break through? We're starting to break even monthlies. Going to the next layer on the supports could be to the 540 area. So that's going to be the next break area. If I'm looking for a break area, it's to the 540s, and that's still ways away. That could put us in a little bit of concern, right? Right now, we're around 10%. In the 540s, we get about 11, 12%. Really, it's not a bear market until it's 20% down. And that is, we're ways away from that, guys. It would have to come down, I think, closer towards 500 here. Let's go ahead and kind of measure this out because I think it's an important thing to start talking about. We'll talk about it with Michael Noss coming up, but I mean, the bear market starts somewhere in this area, right around the 491 area, 490, 491 area. So, I mean, we're still ways away from that area. So I'm going to just draw a little box here. We'll see if we ever get here. I don't think we will. I mean, at least from right now, it seems like that is ways away, guys. So we'll have to find out what happens there in that situation, that it's bear market zone, right? So for right now, things are just looking like it's on the correction mode, right? Now the only question is what's going to turn us around, right? What can bring us back to 600 is going to be the question. Let's get to today's playbook action. Let's see what's moving out there. And of course, let's take a look at what's on my sleeve. What am I watching for in the market today? All right, traders, let's go ahead. Let's take a look at see what we can come up with. The first one that I want to take a look at is a stock that I think everyone's going to be talking about. And it's all about what? I love gold. Yes, I love gold indeed, guys, as gold is pushing to the upside. Gold is on an epic run, guys. I don't know if you've seen it, but take a look at this play today. GOLD is what I'm going to be calling out. Of course, I've been talking about how AU is the momentum play in gold. We've been talking about that since early on in January when we got this breakout from the 9 EMA, and it's been on an epic ride, guys. 52% now riding higher, and every time this pulls back to the 9, it seems to catch some love there. AU right back above, expanding towards the upper side of the Bollinger Band, tightening of the Bollinger Band recently on the 17th, gave us a nice expansion move back there towards the 38s, and I'm going to be watching to see what happens with GOLD now, guys, and we'll see if we can make a break back towards 20. Recently, we were up there to 1989. I'm looking for even a break above 1950s here in the morning. We'll have to wait and see what happens here, but traders are seeking safety and momentum right now. And where could they find it? In gold. There's some momentum and there's safety there. So we'll see what happens here. We'll look to see what happens in GOLD. Look for continued strength to be a green light for GOLD over that 1950s. If you take a look on the daily, look how this is just taken off, guys. It's been a massive takeoff. I'll tell you, there's going to be one area that will be definitely excited about this, and it's going to be anybody that mines for gold, as the gold rush will really kick in. As the price for gold goes up higher, they're able to use more money on equipment and things like that and really push it. I know because I'm a big Gold Rush fan. I don't know if you guys ever watched that show. Let me know in the comments if you guys do. But let's keep it moving here, guys. We'll take a look at some different action. Let's go to the next stock here, as of course we start to look at stocks that are a concern area, right? And we've been looking to see what happens if the market goes into more of that recessionary outlook. Well, one area that I'm looking to see if we can get a lift is Johnson & Johnson here. This has been hanging out sideways off an important level, and it just made an attempted breakout to the upside on the weekly, where we went to 170. We've been going sideways here for a little while now, so I'm wondering if some of the money just rotates into this type of winner. So we need to be looking for stocks that are staying in the green during this time. There's still going to be plays during this time, but you need to be very, very with a fine eye, looking to see what stocks are truly keeping the trend and what can go higher, what makes sense, right? So you're looking for value plays in healthcare right now. Utilities could be another area to look for. And then, of course, we'll be looking for defensive stocks also. Those three areas could do really good in a recession. So keep your eyes on those types of plays. Of course, you can also take a look at the XLP for consumer staples to see how those perform. That had recently been on a nice little pullback, did not go into that weekly gap. Well, I mean, you got a slight tick into it. So it was a good area to look for a little bit of a pullback buy. Now let's see if it goes back towards the top end of this range, and you can look to see some names there. We'll do a little bit of an added bonus for you today, guys. Which what I do is a lot of times if I'm in an area like this, I'm going to go in and I'm going to look at the highest RSI names, or I can take a look to see what has done well in the industry rise on the last kind of week, right? So the last weeks, what has been hot? Medical care has been getting a nice little push. Medical distribution is really strong. Take a look at this, guys. Take a look how it's on the weekly highs. So if there's any area to kind of look for some strength, why not look for medical distribution to just continue pushing? So you got Cardinal Health in that area. Take a look at that stock. It's done pretty decent for the year. Since January, it's up, 16%. So there's some names that we're just not thinking because they're not the sexiest names, but they're able to hold on here during this pullback, like McKesson, another one here. Another one you can, of course, take a look at is healthcare plans. Those are not doing too bad here. UNH starting to climb back, of course, but these are hanging on, but they're still in a little bit of some bearish trends. I'd like to see these start to break the 200. You can see how some of these are above the 200. Some of these are actually pretty below the 200. So just be careful with names like this. I think CVS is showing a little bit of a pullback. Also, UNH, get it back above that 200, that purple line. You fight it every time. Fight it here. You fought it here. You fought it here. You rejected. You climbed all the way back. Can we get back through there? We'll keep an eye out on it. All right. Of course, let's go to the XLP. There's also other names we can look at here. We can do it by RSI. I do this also. And so Kellanova, really strong name as of late. You can see here on the daily, it's been pushing and pushing, guys, since pretty much January on a nice slow grind higher here. Monster doing pretty well there. That tells me take a look to see if Celsius can continue to push there. DG getting a little bit of a pushback there. KDP. So of course, Philip Morris has been on an absolute tear this year. Tyson Foods starting to get stronger. Not a bad one to take a look at. This one actually has a long-term kind of inverse head and shoulders. It can make a breakout back above 66 and really start to push. It's one that I'd keep on the radar too. Lamb Weston, another one here. Oh, right off the bottoming action. Nice consolidation in the last couple of days. Could be one to go higher. So what we're starting to look at now is not the sexiest names on the upside. They're not going to make these giant moves, but we need to start looking at safety, I think, in this situation, and that's what I'll be looking at. Now, if you do want to go for a little bit more higher risk, is maybe it's looking to see if growth names continue on the downside. What about ARKK, of course, and seeing that come down and seeing SART go up, which is the inverse of ARKK. So this is going to look exactly the opposite of this ETF, of course, that has a lot of the growth names, right? So we're looking at names that were just ripping to the upside, now coming right back down, like Roku going right back down. What about Zoom? Look at Zoom coming right back down. What about Tesla right back down, right? So we'll see what happens on these. What about Palantir continuing to go right back down? So this is what I'm talking about, and this is where the concern comes in. Palantir just seems to me like it wants to get back to the 60s, and that could easily happen. We'll see what happens on these names, and a lot of these are losing altitude pretty fast there, guys. We'll see what happens on certain ones and which ones you can go after. Of course, if you guys have a stock that you guys want to talk about, throw it up in the chat. We'll definitely take a look at there. I'm looking in for comments out there. I'm going to go ahead and hit the retweet button out there on X. If you guys have it or have us on X, do us a favor. Hit that retweet right now, guys. I'm going to go do it myself here as I'm live. Let's go ahead. Let's get to trade the pools X. Here we go. I see ourselves live. Let's hit that like. Let's hit that retweet. Boom, baby. All right, there we go. We'll get some more people in the stream. That's how you guys show us and support us that are here every single day. Michael Noss and I and everybody in the chat that helps each other push to the next level. Shane, what's going on this morning? Vic, good morning to you. Kevin, how we doing out there, guys? Makaya, anyone else having trouble with the web trade? It does not fill the orders and shows that there is not enough margin to enter the trade. We'll definitely reach out to our customer service team. We'll go ahead and take a look to see if maybe there's some buying power issues on your account. We'll definitely take a look there. They're on it, and they're working on some issues there. Yeah, there's maybe some buying power issues this morning. I'm going to go take a look there on mine. I know that earlier I was having maybe a little bit of an issue, but let me see if I have already gotten that correction. So real simple there. I'll just put a test order out there. And I think this is important for a lot of traders out there. You got to always test your systems, make sure that you have the availability that you want, right? So we'll see what happens there. Let me go ahead and just put out an order, see if I can get it out there. And look like I'm still having a little bit of some buying power issues. We'll get that fixed up in just a second here. I'll let you guys know as soon as mine is fixed already. All right, let's keep it going. Bear conditions, of course, and let's keep going. Generic random BS. What's the random BS, man? Let's keep it going. Algo's going to be stop loss hunting at the open. Yeah, I agree. And remember, the stop loss hunting comes from the market makers, right? It's not the algos that's go after the stop losses. It's the market makers that make the prices, right? And so remember, they're having an ability to do what? They'll spread the spread out. So when you see that spreading of the spread out, that's when they go for a lot of the stops. So like, let's say it's just like this, right? So the everyone, there's a lot of volume in at 10, and a lot of people are setting stops at 990. And the up level where the next kind of major seller is 1010. So it goes up from $10 to 1005, then comes back to that $10, fills some more orders as people are trying to put bids on that 10 break. Then it goes back to that 990 and maybe goes to like 975, washes those stops, and then comes right back through 10. Some more buyers step up, more volume comes in. Then it comes back to 990, holds at 990. And on the third break of 10, you finally get enough volume to break that 1010 seller. This is how the demand and kind of supply kind of transactions need to be focused on, especially when you're doing quick trading. It's difficult. It's not easy, but it's something that we talk about on the show. Let's keep going to the Sunrise Report. There's not much out there today on news-wise for specific stocks, but we'll take a look to see if there's anything that I missed. All right, traders, let's keep going. We'll see what happens here. Let's take a look there. Of course, the futures are under pressure as stocks are down, as investors are hitting the brake on last week's tech bull run, as big names like Nvidia, Tesla, and Meta seeing early selling pressure this morning, and they did pull back on Friday. So, of course, everyone is on tensions rising as they're bracing themselves for Trump's Liberation Day on April 2nd, as tariffs kick off this Wednesday, slapping a 25% levy on all cars not made in the U.S. The administration is also gearing up for reciprocal duties against countries imposing tariffs on American goods. Over the weekend, Trump doubled down, telling NBC News that he couldn't care less if foreign automakers raise prices. Auto stocks are feeling the heat as Ford and GM are down 1% in pre-market. They were getting a little bit of a bounce as of late and now are starting to go right back down. I talked about the concern that are coming in new cars. I've talked about it here plenty of times, guys. I'm going to show you guys more and more of why I think this is a big concern. But as you guys can see, Ford is not looking good this morning, and neither is GM and Tesla. Of course, GM now down towards the lows, could be breaking that 45. Tesla right back down. It was trying to do this V bottom, so big level to watch is going to be seeing if it can break, of course, that bottoming. And maybe on this one, we got to draw the anchored off for that low action on the 10th or maybe on the 11th, right? And so if we did it off of that one, we could see we're right on off of that anchored. We'll see what happens off of that, guys. Big important level is going to be right underneath this to see what happens if we go into this area. I think if we can hold the 242, you're not looking too bad here. It's going to be a big watch today on Tesla. Move back towards 217. We could be breaking 200 and heading back towards this line around the 190s. That's going to be the next level for me. I'm leaning towards more of that downward break here for Tesla. All right, let's keep going in the news and seeing what else is out there. Stellantis, of course, taking hits. Trade wars, fears are creeping back in and weighing on the stocks, of course. And stagflation concerns continue as Wall Street reassesses the GDP growth expectations. And the expectations were not looking good. This week, it's all about a heavy macro week ahead, guys. We need to be watching to see what happens. On Tuesday, we'll get PMI and JOLTS job openings. On Wednesday, we get ADP, private payrolls. On Thursday, we get jobless claims, ISM services, and trade deficit. And on Friday, we will get the non-farm payrolls. And this one is a big one. It's for March, and we will be all eyes open as everyone's looking to see if we start to see a spike in, of course, jobless claims going higher. We'll see if we get unemployment going higher. It's something definitely to keep your eyes open for, team. We'll see what happens here as we're looking at the SPY, and the ATR has been expanding. The MACD now on the bottom on the downward cross, guys. Last time we crossed here was right about here when we were riding on the up move. Now we're actually starting to cross on the down move, and that just shows you the quick cycle that we went through there. And was that a bear dead cat bounce? It definitely looks like a dead cat bounce, and it was pretty significant. Now we need to see where could the next move put us, and we'll be all eyes open today to see if we get that takedown. All right, guys, of course, if we take a look at what stocks are moving, of course, this morning, Tesla, of course, continuing to tumble down, and Stifel coming in here and cutting the price target on the stock. The firm said to have slower than expected rollout of the Tesla's new Model Y, and recent protests could weigh on sales in the near term. Auto stocks, of course, continuing that downward pressure. We'll take a look to see what else is out there. CoreWeave shares of NVIDIA's backed cloud provider fell nearly 5%, closing flat on NASDAQ debut. So CoreWeave, I don't know the ticker for it. Let me just take a look here. I'm sure I can find it. CRWV. It's a new one, right? So IPO'd on, of course, on Friday. Let's take a look at this one. I think this is just bad timing. It's a really good thinking in a cloud provider, right? Like it's an NVIDIA-backed cloud provider, but this is just a debut, guys. It's an artificial intelligent chip darling that has fallen more than 18% in 2025. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens, guys. This is one that I'd keep an eye out. I'd look for undercuts, maybe down towards 30, and then it comes back later in the year. But for right now, it's going to have a tough ride trying to keep going up. So the fun part is we'll probably be able to short this right there on, of course, Trade the Pool, where in a lot of platforms, you're probably not being able to get any type of downside short on this. This is going to be on the radar for me, guys. We'll talk a little bit more about this with Michael Noss coming up. All right, let's keep going. Mr. Cooper, the Cooper, Coop. Coop getting a move today, guys, as Mr. Cooper, the mortgage firm, saw shares jumping here, guys, as it looks like Rocket Company announcing a definitive agreement to acquire Mr. Cooper in an all-stock transaction for $9.4 billion in equity value. Rocket shares are down 4% on this, as you see RKT taking the down hit there. And, of course, Mr. Cooper here, Coopy Coop, getting the nice little lift there towards 130. We'll see what happens on this one. I don't know about this one too much, guys, but I can tell you guys, it's not the worst sign to see Rocket Mortgage kind of doing a buy. I think it's the wrong time for them to be doing this, and it could actually put more pressure on the stock to the downside, but we'll have to wait and see what happens on Rocket companies. All right, let's keep going, guys. It's crypto stocks, and stocks, of course, who are tied to crypto stocks are falling here, and they're really taking a big hit fast, guys. Coin down to another level there. Hood down to another level here, guys. So Clean Spark and all those are really taking a beating, guys. Mara's back down to $12 when it had just gotten back there, back towards 30. So it's not looking good for these miners, guys. I think there's going to be some sign of concern for these miners coming really soon, guys. So another thing to look at is how could you maybe go about this? Well, what about like going for Biddy, right? Which is the Bitcoin short strategy. Yes, we're seeing Bitcoin take a major beating, and it's starting to affect it to the point where maybe some betting on the short side could be here, could be in play. We'll see what happens there, guys. That's going to do it for me, at least. Palantir is sliding, putting another kind of losing as their fifth losing session here. 5 red bars in a row, and Palantir continuing to take a hit. HIMS is in the same world of hurt. This is why it's important to know that stocks sometimes fall in a category. They fall in a category here in euphoria. And these are almost the same looking charts, right? Pops getting shorted into 5 days in a row on the red side. These are the euphoria stocks. And I don't expect to see much different from, let's say, these quantum names. These quantum names could be coming down and in a hurry. Like IonQ, watch out, guys. watch out, because remember when it was up there at 50, everyone was thinking this was like the next best company. Well, it could easily be making a full round stop right back down to $10. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me in the Sunrise Report. Of course, today, the Sunrise Report is always about getting you why stocks are moving and what stocks out there are even getting a move. Well, today's one of those days where you got to pay attention, guys, because there's really not much catalyst tied to these stocks right now. It's more about what's going on in the macro situation. We need to watch what happens in the Fed fund situation, what's going on with interest rate cut talk, because the truth is, that's what the pressure is starting to come to, is that we might need some rate cuts to save this economy. But we know how the Fed kind of works there. They're going to be late on the game. So how much will this transition period really be? And concerns that we'll be talking about coming up. All right, guys, like always, smash the like. We'll kick things off here in just a second here. I'm looking around to see what I can come up with. It was a tough Friday for me, guys, as I definitely took the wash. I was trying to bet to the upside, and man, it was a tough one for sure. So we'll look to bounce back, like always, guys, and trying to keep things going. And like I've mentioned, look forward towards next week. 200K accounts as we'll look to open those up and take it to the next level, guys. I want to keep pushing. I want to go for the bigger accounts, and it's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun learning lesson. We'll do this all live right here. That's the fun part about it. You guys get to really learn from our experience. All right, let's keep going. We'll kick the show off in just a minute here. Looking around to see what's kind of making a little bit of a move here. Are we going to get a bounce? I mean, we are off of a bounce spot. We did cut that 549.60 level, 549.68 level. We went down there to 548.70, and ever since then, we're pretty much coming back. So I'm going to watch to see if that level gets taken out during the open. We are starting to rise back, so I think that at this point, we could have ourselves a tiny bit of a relief rally. I just don't know how any of these rallies are going to start holding. Did the bull get capitulated? Those are things to be thinking about, right? Because I definitely think they got the wash on Friday. I definitely think they started to have the concern. And the bears are definitely pouting their chest. And I can't blame them, because the bears action was pretty significant on Friday. Let's talk about what happened in the markets, what could be changing, and let's kick things off. Let's get to Michael Noss. Let's get to the show action. Of course, you guys know where you're at. It's TTP Live. Start that countdown. Let's go to the trading side of things. Hugo wants 200, baby.
You ready to get back to the trading action?
You aim, you shoot, and make money.
It's going to be a great day. You guys know where you're at.
Good morning. How we doing out there, traders? Got to kick it up. Got to kick it up a notch. It's Monday. What's going on, Michael Noss? How we doing? Start it off.
Doing all right. Excuse my voice. I'm fighting off. Your kids aren't in daycare yet, are they?
No. I've been smart in keeping them out of it. But I know how that daycare can be.
They come back with the flu, and it doesn't affect them at all because they're little kids. They just keep going, and then it gets to you, and it just lays you out. So
yes.
Feeling okay, but the voice is hurting. So
the Bears are trying to get Michael, man. The Bears are trying to get him, man.
They're trying to get me.
Yeah, and I heard it's pretty snowy. I don't know if it's in your part of area, but I have a friend. I think it's in Windsor, that kind of area, man, and it's pretty bad over there. Some big snowstorms out there, man. Canada. The only place I can relate is Colorado. When I was in Colorado, it does snow in March and April, and you're just like, everyone else is celebrating spring, and you're just like, what's spring, man? Winter is coming down back here.
And then you get one minute of summer, and then it's all over.
The fake spring. You get a spring, you get a melt all of a sudden, and then all of a sudden the snow is back. I remember it was snowing in May, and I was like, holy moly, we might get a month of summer. But hey, That's how it goes, guys. I'll tell you one thing. This market right now, it might be in a winter, an extended winter, because it's definitely seeing it right now. What are you seeing in this market? Big destruction day on Friday, man. Disaster station as everything started to break, and it just continued to break down. It did not come back at all as the flush came on Friday.
Yeah, it was a pretty wicked trend. We're still within this range, right? It's insane how well this anchored VWAP that we talked about worked. Even the one from the bottom here, right, held us for a day and a little bit, right? You can see it held us a little bit on Friday, and then yeah, we just flushed. So I heard you talk about earlier, we undercut this low already, and then we're starting to rally above it. So
yeah,
that's something to keep an eye on. I really just think, oops. Close my charts by accident.
No,
gotta get them back. I really just think
the shake. I got you
back here. I really just think we're waiting for Wednesday. Right? I think that's going to be the day when we finally know these tariffs. Kind of like we talk about all the time, where if something's rallying into an event, it can often be a sell the news event, and I kind of think this is the opposite of that, right? A buy the news event where everyone's dreading tariffs, and then maybe he comes out and he goes, okay, here is maybe there's a nice outlay of a plan. Here is the plan. Here is exactly what we're going to do. Here's what they need to do to lower the tariffs, or how long they're going to last. And if there's I think that's all the market wants right now, is give us a nice detailed
I love
plan.
it. Love it, my friend. I've coined a new phrase. So you can go ahead and start telling everyone about it, Michael. It's no longer buy the rumor, sell the news. It's now sell the rumor and buy the news.
Yeah.
How do you think about that one? That's not one I don't think I've heard anyone mention that one before. And it just, the phrase kind of came to me, and I was like, you know what? In this case, it kind of makes complete sense.
Well, and it's one of those, and again, I hate how cheesy the saying is, but it's 100% true, where the market hates uncertainty. And the problem is we don't know. There's these, just kind of like we always talk about, it's probably not a good idea to buy something right before an earnings event, because you don't know what they're going to say. It can be this big event. And if you have a stock that's reporting earnings in the next couple of days, it usually doesn't do too much. Maybe it grinds up a little bit or grinds down. It just doesn't have a big movement. But in this case, I think it's the same thing, where you can treat this Liberation Day or whatever he's calling it like a giant earnings event. And what we need to do is we need to say, okay, what actually is it? And as soon as the market has the plans laid out, I think you will get a relief bounce after that. And it's just, again, we just need some confirmation. I think the absolute worst thing that could happen is more of this. Right, there's I'm going to give you a tariff one day and then turn off the tariff the next day, and do whatever. It's one of those things where, again, businesses can plan for anything, and I think that was one thing we found out when the Fed raised rates a lot. It's all the big businesses, they adapt pretty quickly. They were okay with the raised rates. They adapted to inflation. They adapted to all this stuff, but what they can adapt to is a moving target. Right. So if you tell Apple, right, this is going to be the tariffs and this is how it's going to happen, they'll figure out a way around it. They're smart people. It's one of those things where if we don't get this certainty, then I think it's just more lows and more lows and more lows. So I, for one, it's too extended to short down here. So I, for one, I'm going to be looking for the long side. But I'm still in, and I remember coming right off the bat, I still think it is buy the dip, sell the rip. We're going to be range bound for the foreseeable future, maybe again for the year, because we talked about it all the time. Yeah. You had back-to-back 20% up years. You can't expect another 20% up year, right?
Definitely not. Definitely not. And this is an important thing, and I think it's tough times, right? And this is when I think it's an important thing to be thinking longer term, right? I think in downturns, I think a lot of traders think it's short term. This is the time. Like, it's not the time. I think a lot of times it's easy for, let's say, financial advisors and kind of the let's say the corporate side of the finance world to push investing, but in bull markets. To tell you the truth, investing should come in bear markets.
Yes.
And I think that the reason for that, guys, is that you're getting an advantage. You're getting a discount on prices. The key is looking into and combing in the ditches to where the quality truly lies in. That's what the big investors do during this time, right? They know that the uncertainty is at play. Yes, the world is coming down, but they know it's not coming to an end. And so with that being said, they just have their buying list going, and they're just trying to figure out where is the situations where I can buy this stock and get it at a valuation where it makes sense. At least fundamentals come higher into play. And so it's always, I think, a matter of looking at the variables in trading and kind of finding out which variable is leading, right? So sometimes story leads stock. Sometimes technicals lead stock. Sometimes the overall market leads stock, right? And then sometimes fundamentals can also lead stocks just themselves, right? And so it's kind of like this ebb and flow, right? And you need to be asking yourself where we're at in that game.
Well, it also shows you relative strength, right? And I've talked about it. You know, you can read papers till the cow comes home, right? Jadish and Med Faber and all these guys put out great papers, and they just talk about in bear markets, you buy relative strength. You buy the stuff that they're not selling, and it ends up, again, I've done studies. I have the studies myself. I've got one of the systems I have is a 47-year back test on buying relative strength. And it's one of those things that it works in the long run. So it's very hard to find relative strength when the market's going up because everything's going up. On times like this where the market's going down, you just look for stuff that's not going down nearly as much. So financials, we've been kind of pounding the table on forever. And you look at a JP Morgan or something like this, doing much, much better than NVIDIA, SMCI, Palantir, all of these names on the way down. So that's one great way to do it. And then the other thing is that if you find stocks that are at support, I don't have any example offhand, and they're unable to break that support zone as the market is selling, they can't break down that support. Yeah, man, that's something that's really, really strong because it means whoever's buying at that support zone is really keeping things up. So I'm looking
Here's one to put on the radar. Let's like that. And you can go ahead. You can bring in XLE. I'll just drop in the one that I brought in the playbook, Johnson & Johnson.
J&J,
yeah. So stock doesn't want to break support. Made a recent run, held it through all this uncertainty. Just needs some buying to come in.
Well, yeah, and so you take this, right, and you can even add the SPY to it, and you don't have to get fancy with it, right? So this is the S&P. The red line's the S&P 500. The other line is Johnson & Johnson. You can see the S&P 500 has been selling off. Johnson & Johnson's been raising. So you know there's some relative strength there, right? This is partly a flight to safety instrument, but from a drug point of view, you got to look at what they have. And again, you can read and you can see all of these studies. It's just there's been tons done. Meb Faber has done amazing work on this, where he just talks about buying the 3 strongest sectors every year and just rotates and rotates and rotates. And again, these are the moments where really, really good investors make a whole lot of money because, like we talked about, you can go back to the year 2000, but the biggest bounces happen in choppy markets. So if you're good at snagging a low and you snag a low around here, then you can expect a 20-30, right? If Palantir is going to get back to highs, it's got to rally 50% at this point. It's got to double. Yeah, 50% to highs here. And then through that, you could definitely see a double. So if you're one of those, and it's one of those, it's the hardest thing to do, to buy the market and to buy the market when it's down. But that's really, if you look back, right, this was the January low, just to get back to highs. And then you have all the people chasing through highs. If you're the guy buying down here, it's 35% gain. And then you had a double from there. So, right, I'm not saying that this is going to be the low, but I really think that after this whole Trump thing's done, if there's some good plans, then it'd be good to buy stuff. So like I mentioned all the time, I'm a quant. My quant has given me a whole bunch of names to look at to buy, I'll start to give some of those to you guys if they come through. But I've got my list, and that's what I think people should be doing from the long-term point of view right now. Make
Always.
a list, right? Make your
Always.
shopping list.
Always, and have multiple hats. That's the hard part, I think. When you're a trader, it's hard to be all different areas, but definitely something to be looking at. I'm looking to see those euphoria charts continue to drop. We'll look to see what happens to those names, the growth names. So one way to play that is Sarking it, man, just sarking it.
Yes, the dude launched this ETF at the perfect time, like right at the height of, I think it was, right at the height of Kathy, and just.
I mean, I think Kathy's in a world of hurt here and could be coming down towards the lows again here, and maybe even cutting all-time lows. I don't know, but it ain't too far from it.
The biggest wealth destroyer of all time, right? She's been crowned. Just looking at the drawdown here. So I'll show you guys this. This is the back test I was talking about. It's way too big. Hold on. Gotta shrink it down for the share. Right. So this is the back test that I came up with. This is more swing trading. So these are about a week old, and it goes back to the year 2000. About 28% year-over-year growth, about 20%-ish max drawdown. You can see not perfect, no equity curve is, but up and to the right, that's what we want to see. So the idea behind this is we're looking for really strong names that are pulling back. So, one of them that I know is close, again, there's about 30 names that come out each week, is this AVGO. So the algorithm's looking at this around 160. Some of those names as well, just from that kind of big finance area. So a lot of big caps, a lot of small caps, a lot of like therapeutics and things like this, but RBC on there as well. A lot of these bigger names that are in uptrends, and then buying these things on pullback from uptrends has been the move. So I've got these levels marked. Again, these are swing trading systems, so not really going to be day trading them, but that's what I'll be doing in my real broker account when we finally open, if we get any of these triggers.
Yeah, we'll have to see what happens with the sectors. I'll be watching as it was a weak day for financials and industrials on Friday. So
yeah, everything.
If those hold on, it was an ugly day. Maybe defensive sectors continue to see the lift there, as Staples looking pretty good to break the high today. XLP 81, big level to look for that nice little kind of. You got like 3 or 4 highs right there in that 81. We'll see if it breaks through. PG has a very similar chart. And so if you're looking for a name that's just stock similar to that ETF, PG, very similar there. And there's some strong ones out there. We'll see if some other ones start to get going. Clorox off the bottom. Just looking at names that I can maybe go after in this space. Colgate Palmolive. Off the 94 looks interesting. Reason why on this one does look like an inverse head and shoulders pattern, so maybe it just comes back towards 97. Doesn't need to be a monster move, right? Just something to come back there. Safety trade, right? What about gold? I love gold. It doesn't stop. Michael Noss. I don't know about you, but I love this show I've been watching for years now. I feel like old now. Gold Rush on Discovery as they dig for gold.
I think I've seen one of those, yeah.
And they love the gold price going up higher, man. I remember they were singing in the streets when gold was 2,000 an ounce. Mm-hmm. Now at 3,000 an ounce, they're gonna be freaking let's go singing in the streets out there, as the gold miners are definitely loving the things as gold is on parabolic move, man. I can't believe that it's during this time versus during the pandemic, right?
Yeah.
Like if there was any time for gold to have made this move, for me, it made sense in like kind of the 2020 time, right? And I mean, it did make a lift, right? We got a lift, but not like this. I feel like this has been, man, maybe this has just been egging since that time. I mean, this is a 49%, 50% run on GLD. That's a huge move.
Well, and this is just how commodities move as well, right? So I've got a couple commodities on watch where, full disclosure, right? I'll always say I'm long a bunch of gold from last year, just bought on this monthly candle breakout, very typical cup and handle. But this is how commodities move, right? It sideways chop for long periods of time, massive breakouts that you have to watch. So then the question is this going to happen in other indices, right? Are we going to see this in copper, which is trying to break out here? So is that copper going to end up moving like gold? And then also, right, gold's crazy cousin, as we like to call him, silver. This thing's kind of has that same cup and handle look here. We're on a monthly chart. We're on a super long-term chart. Looks like this one could be getting going as well. Silver, I read somewhere, I can see if I can find the tweet from one of my buddies at All-Star Charts, said the SLV is the highest shorted that it's ever been in history. So potential short squeeze on silver. That one's super interesting to me. We got highs here at $50. So that's a huge percentage gain here. So yeah, silver, copper are the two things that I'm watching. Gold, I wish I could say I held all of it, but I've just been pairing out on the way up. And I've just got a massive trailing stop on the other end. Eventually these things, again, and you can see this, I think the best example here is just coca, right? Just did nothing from 2015 to 2025, so did nothing for 10 years. Then you had this massive explosion, and there were so many people wiped out trying to short this thing as it continued to rip. This is what commodities do, right? They do nothing, and then they do everything all at once. It's why trend following systems do so well in the commodity space.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's an important thing to watch, right? And just in the long-term sense, you don't need to be watching it, every single day. But if you watch it on deeper time frame charts and you wait for those moves, those can be something that you can ride the trend on, and maybe finding stocks to ride off of those trends, right? And I think that's the important thing there. We'll see what happens in the basic materials area. Definitely areas to watch, right? I mean, there's so much here that is something to look at, whether it be looking into things, right? And as of late, of course, if you look on the weekly, what's been in the green, it's just gold and coal on the weeklies in the last week, right? And so what's been on the downside, what pulled back last week was aluminum down 9%, copper down 6%. So let's see if that turns this week, right? Sometimes the ones that got hit the hardest are the ones that have the best bounce back, and maybe gold that had a good week could be on a pullback, right? And so don't forget that that's a lot of times how day trading works. That's why as a kind of a view, you could be looking at maybe something that's the worst performing sector of the year can turn into the best performing sector of the year by the end of the year, right? And so
all the time,
all the time. It happens all the time. That's why I say don't forget that, right? It doesn't mean that it has to stay that way, but it's trends that you need to focus, whether it's relative strength or relative weakness, right? And seeing if you get key reversal action in those areas, right? All right, catching up with the chat. What's going on out there, guys? I know that there's some small names Steph was bringing up there. We can take a quick look at them. DOMH,
I'm going to go over
WTG. What you got for me?
I'm just going to go over Tesla here just because.
Ooh, the dragon.
You want to talk about relative strength, right? So I'm starting to compare not from the highs anymore, but what isn't close to that low. We talked about how the SPY and the Qs, they're flirting with that low that we had in March. Tesla's a little bit above that. So I'm watching that one there as well. And just going into the intraday chart, it's doing the setup that I'm building out. I'm going to quantify, going to be able to auto trade this very soon. Just spending all morning under VWAP. If we get a crack through VWAP off the open, you target the 2-day VWAP, wherever that's going to end up being. It's just interesting to me, the fact that this is just not at lows. It rallied further than everything else. And it's just not at lows with the rest of them.
Yeah, I can't. I need to see some type of good news come for Elon, because at least the car situation is looking really bad. We'll see what happens on Ford and GM and other automakers, but it was pretty tough. So one name that I'd be keeping an eye on if you're looking at Ford is take a look to see if Rivian can run again. Why? Because this one's actually, to me, the better looking chart of the automakers here, at least for rally back, right? to me, this is a long-term trend that you can really look to see if it comes into play. If anything, I even draw it a little bit higher up towards kind of those. I feel like we haven't even hit that trend line. We got close to it in January. I draw one from the back in 2023 and draw it all the way up there. And so mine's a little different. I'll show you where I'm drawing it, Michael.
Yeah, the one thing to note about Rivian though is I hate float charts that look like this. Right, this just means they're diluting shareholders at every turn, and that to me,
yeah,
you gotta be careful.
That's one caveat of Rivian, right? It's been doing that, right? I agree. I look at kind of more of this area here, and right, so it comes right into kind of this last little spike. So we'll see. Can we get one more spike up, right? If Rivian comes back up here, I say Tesla's doing that move too, right? Like kind of getting that breakout to the upside. Why? Because Rivian also makes the vehicles here, right? And so this is all about looking to see what makes vehicles here and what can kind of hold on there, right? So I'd be watching that conversation, at least in two names there, to see if it can hold on to that low. But if Rivian's back at $9, yeah, that'd be one of those signs of concerns for me, that it's not just that it's but Tesla making these cars here, it's going to be able to hold on. I think what it is that this is going to be a really, really tough year for auto manufacturing. And doesn't matter what Tesla can do in auto manufacturing, that's not going to turn things here. It has to be the robo-taxi. It has to be because of what? Because autonomous is coming back online. And of course, the droid, the humanoid, the robot. That's the only thing I think is going to turn the trend here for Tesla. The market could do it, but for right now, the actual story on Tesla is as negative as I've seen it in a long time. So we'll see what happens there.
It's funny. That's why I like it.
Yeah, and that's good. I agree. But you're definitely catching falling knives with kind of like bad catalyst. Is the technicals there, and Tesla's always been the beast to come back rallying. I like it down here, Michael. If it can come into this area, right, where like you retrace the whole rally, right? So this broke that long-term trend line. It broke out of that, right? And then now it's kind of doing this bounce in here where, yeah, there's going to be some buyers to step up. But I'd like to see it down into that area. Make one more down attempt, right? Come into this area and then rally back off of that. Because then you'll have kind of this approach where you make kind of like this descending triangle approach down here. And then you can rally back through 250s later in the year. That's the way that I see it, if anything, for now. 190s, 200 in play before 300. Let's take that bet.
I'm not taking a bet. Not
a little lunch bet. A little lunch bet.
Sure, why not?
What is it? 50-50, right? $50 on the upside, $50 on the downside. I got $3 more, so we'll give you $295.
All right. Oh, $295 before it hits 200.
Yeah, I'll do 200.
All right.
There you go. A little lunch bet. A little lunch bet here between Michael and I. We'll see what happens. Lunch gets expensive here in the U.S., though. I'll tell you that. It might be getting more expensive for you, though, now with all this tariff action.
Well, without going
only
too much
buy
into
Canada made, baby.
What's the potash? Yeah, I'm trying to find the potash ticker.
Yeah.
Because that's the latest thread. Is there's a lot of studies that America MOS. There we go.
I got you. Got you, my friend.
Some debates there, right? Because America can't feed itself without Canadian potash. So that's kind of the big one that they're talking back and forth about if they're going to start tariffing that. If so, then yeah, growing food in America gets really much more expensive. So might be one of those you can watch like the corn ETFs or the wheat ETFs or something like this, because if the price of those things start to appreciate, if Canada does start to withhold potash, then yeah, the price of those things go up, and it'd be better to be holding them than to be paying the price of the grocery store. So
all right, guys, let's get ready for the open here as things are getting really closer to it. How you see the action right now towards the open here? Do you see the markets holding up a little bit? I see they were doing a slight tick. Now we're getting that wash right back down. It's going to be tough here out the gates.
yeah, right. I think the pre-market low is going to be everything. We had a nice bounce from there, a nice bounce off the pre-market low. Not really any news from it. We don't really have any news coming up either. We have Michigan something that no one cares about.
Michigan, Michigan that nobody cares about.
Chicago PMI. It's not going to be a big deal.
The other place that no one cares about.
Yeah. So I think we're in a bit of a wait and see mode. So for me, again, I've marked the low. I'm waiting the 2-day VWAP's way up here. So inside this range, more bullish than anything. If we break down pre-market lows and we can hold below it, then maybe we do get another little flush. But just looking at the daily chart as someone who's just trading back and forth and again came into the year thinking it's going to be a range bound year, I'm gonna wait for some sort of dip and try to get involved to the long side because we're just very, very extended from this VWAP. So ideally that kind of flush, we've talked about that, we've been playing that a lot, that's been working out well for us. You get a flush of the pre-market lows, you get buyers to step back in, and then you just buy her back up. That'd be the idea, the hope anyway.
Yeah, we'll see what happens here, guys. Excited to see what happens this week, right? As it's a big week as we get Liberation Day, the big day, It's coming. Liberation is coming to the United States of America. Brought to you by my man Trump. And he did not pay for this advertisement, but we will see what happens there. Definitely, it's a big day. Will it be like we're thinking a little bit here? Is it to sell the rumor and to buy the news? Reason why I think that also, Michael, is just the pure fact that you were talking about one thing and you were saying that about like kind of the uncertainty that's at play. So to me, it's more about necessarily that news here is a certainty. Actual news is a certainty. Of course, the back and forth action is a lot of rumor action, and that's an uncertainty. So essentially, sometimes we buy rumors because they're good catalysts. But in this case, they're bad catalysts, and it's a bad thing. It's a bad rumor. So we're selling the rumor, and then instead buying the news as we have final certainty of what is coming, right? And so that's why I feel like it could be that, and then we'll see the flip. We'll have to wait and find out. Market's open. Be safe out there, traders. Ding, ding, ding. Let's get after it.
Yeah, so I talked a little bit about these mean reversion systems that I run. Again, these are swing trading, not for day trading, but Corsair Gaming just triggered on one.
I love that.
884 level, just selling off there. So that's one interesting I'm going to keep an eye on for potential bounce. And again, these are swing trades, so hold that for a week or so. Again, so I just look for a little bit of buying action to come in here. First move off the gate was a little bit bullish, pulling back a little bit. I'm watching Tesla. Again, like I mentioned, it tried to rally through VWAP. So far, it's getting rejected. I want to see a 5-minute candle close above VWAP, and then I'll look to get in above that. The target on Tesla would be way up here, so that would just be insane. TSLL is probably how I'll play it, just because it's 2 times leverage, so why not?
All right, guys, seeing all those gold names kind of pull off there, and it could be the fade for the day, right? Just looking at a trade there that it's interesting out the gates here.
Yeah, Palantir doing the same thing, so that was very oversold here, but not quite at that low that everything else was. Under VWAP pretty much all morning. Looks to be a bit of a strong opening pop here. So we're gonna watch this one as well. So those are the 2 that I have on watch off the morning. Everything else rallied through VWAP a little bit early, so kind of missed it, right? Or I would have had to take in the pre-market. PLTR is looking nice. Go back, check on the SPY. So big topping tail right off the bat, not what you want to see. You don't want to see that that initial move fail. Tesla is failing here as well. So that's breaking down to lows. That's why we wait for a little bit before we get involved in these. But yeah, we'll see what happens here on the SPY. So far, again, it's this 258.48 or 248. That's the number that we're watching to see if we can get a pop there. But so far, we're just bleeding down into that zone. Q's much worse. Q's already under that low. That actually makes a under this low from March. So the Q's are definitely way worse than the SPY. So that means we're seeing probably strength in financials and industrials, that kind of stuff as well.
Yeah, financials out the gates, getting a nice little jump there. It's not a big one, but it's at least something there. You're getting at least like 20 cents out the gates there to the upside. I'm watching the hourly there. Good level to recover. It's going to be around 49.50s. $50 is the big level to watch, but we're starting to work our way. SPY, though, still heading down there. Just broke through the lows there on the SPY there. So we're heading towards the pre-market low. We'll see if we break 548.70. Q's really breaking through the low. That's where the dump is at right now, guys. The Q's, I think, is dragging essentially the SPY here, with other sectors going up but not being able to hold because of the drag of the Q's.
Yeah, it's one of those we're seeing consumer staples and utilities, healthcare holding us up while everything else is selling here pretty bad. So,
all right, guys. Starting to look for maybe a potential chance of a pullback on gold. I like the opportunity, but need to use the hourly support and try to use that. So I can use GLD or AU. AU's on the quick pullback, so is GLD. Support all around the 1912s to 19 area. I like GLD. AU's faster, right? So AU's going to recover faster, but the spread is wider on that one. So just got to determine which one you want to go after.
Looking for things bucking the trend. That MLGO crazy one. That's moving a little higher here, breaking through VWAP to the upside. So a little bit of relative strength in crazies. I noticed all the quantum scams were gapping down, and they're actually holding a little bit as well. So might be a good time under the hood to just hunt for some relative strength. Even SMCI isn't yet breaking down its pre-market level. So that's what I'm doing a lot of, is just where is the relative strength for when and if the market pops. Then that's the stuff I want to be in.
Utilities, defensives out the gates, leading the up action. Utilities really strong, guys. So that's an area that I will be watching to try to ride that up. A lot of areas could be seeing the lift there. Of course, utilities telling me more recession concern in the market.
SMCX might actually be a way to play SMCI. Again, just making a list of these are the things that I'm interested in buying if the market chills out here. And kind of like what we were talking about, is that we want to see a break of the pre-market lows, which we got, and then we want to see a bounce from the pre-market lows, which it looks like we're getting. So SMCX might be an interesting way to play that. So yeah, we're getting a bit of a rally there on the SPY. So the first push was an opening flush lower. Now we'll see if we can hold these lows. To me, that's everything, right? If we hold that low right there.
XLE breaking through highs, financials at 49, and XLI holding in well.
And Tesla, TSLA recovering here. So watching that one for the 2-minute close. Again, I want to see that back above VWAP. That'd be the take that the thing that I'd trade there. Some things holding on, some things recovering. So might be a shot to take here if the SPY can continue to hold. What we don't want to see is kind of what's happening right now, which is just an opening little move and then a potential fade Potential fade lower right after that.
All right, guys, we'll keep eyes on GLD to get back above 1916. I think it's going to break through the 19 here, and then I'm looking for a recovery back through the 1920s on GOLD. So we'll look to see what happens there. I'm going to wait. I'm trying not to jump in too early on the downside because I think it could hit 19. Try to get some stops out. Average is around 1910s, 1912s, where I feel like a lot of the volume is, and I'm looking for a wash to 19 and a recovery through that level.
Yeah, SPY does not look like it's holding this bounce at all. Tried to rally up, hit the VWAP, got rejected from that pretty handily. Yeah, it looks like its potential is just going to roll over and make new lows. So that's not, we wanted to see this get flushed, but then we wanted to see buyers step back in. Doesn't look like we're seeing that, so it's probably not the time to take the shot. So for me, it's if we get back above VWAP, that's where I'm going to get interested to take a shot. And without that, I'm not too interested in any of these names. Although SMCI, just shocking to say that there's relative strength in that name, but there is. So it's interesting to see. That would be the one that I would look at more than anything.
XLE strong, guys. That's where I see some strength to maybe trade. I like the XLE's action all day today. 15-minute bar straight up to 93. Going to look for some type of pullback to 92.75 or 92.60s, but right now, straight up action out the gates on XLE. So relative strength, right? Where's the relative strength? To me, it's right there, and it's in defensive area. And we talked about defensive names today. PG, not looking too bad. Colgate Palmolive, Clorox. So looking into that space. Monster was another name that had been strong. So I was looking to see if maybe Celsius on the move. There you go, recovering 35, holding 9 EMAs, just showing me momentum on Celsius. Daily candles all at this 35 spot, big level.
Yeah, SPY held that level as well. Held the level again there. So, right, I'm getting alerts for Hood breaking VWAP. Yeah, there it is. What else came through? So Hood and Tesla. All right, so I'm going to take some of this. Barely did. So not yet. Again, I'm watching SMCI, which I'll probably just trade SMCX. Just a little more leverage there. Again, why not? But I do want to see the SPY back above and holding above VWAP, and we're just not getting that. So there's just nothing to do here. Either you short in through this, which for me, just looking at this 5-minute chart, this is just too overdone to be the guy taking shorts there. Or you wait for a bounce opportunity, which I'm just not seeing yet.
Coke holding well, still defensive area, still looking pretty good for trades. That's where I was looking for in today. And Pepsi doing well off the VWAP there. So there was trades to be had in the defensive area out the gates today. That's for sure.
So where's like the Coke and Pepsi leverage ETFs? Like I don't need an SMCI leverage ETF. I need a leverage Coke ETF, right?
No, there you go. You got an idea. I'll send it to Matthew Tuttle. He'll have it up in about half an hour.
There you go. Right, give us the boring stuff, just 4 or 5 times leveraged.
All right, GLD just undercut that 19, so gonna look to see if that can start to make a comeback now, guys.
So yeah, we're just bleeding now. I'm getting a lot of things to look at from the swing trading side of things. Nothing super interesting from the day trading side of things, not yet anyway. Let's see our Corsair Gaming. It's continuing to sell, but not nearly as bad as the market. So again, this purple line, this is just completely algorithmically decided.
XLP
I like the
new
fact
high.
that also the gap fill here as well.
XLP new high, guys. New high on the XLP.
SPY continuing to bleed. Q's continuing to bleed. So yeah, what's Steph playing here? NWTG.
Clorox looking really good off the 9 EMA there, guys. That's a swing trade alert off the 147 for me.
Wow.
Problem with Clorox is the spread. You got to be careful, but I'd love a pullback to like 147.30s, 147.25, and then watch it take 148. NWT8TG. Yeah, not a bad one. Recovering 2 there. It doesn't look too bad there. Like that recovery of 2. It's a leisure name. I've seen this name popping up before. So, of course, it's a golf name, so it's nothing too much there. But maybe it gets back there to the 240s. So you got about 40 cents on the upside. My thing is, though, another thing to keep in mind, and I'll say this just because I've seen small caps for so long, but when the market starts to become in a really uncertain moment and uncertainty comes into play, it's very hard to find those 100% movers consistently. So for me, I think the small caps are a little bit going to be shaky and hard to play here. If you want to play them, by all means, guys, have fun, right? Like, I'm always for you guys to find those runners, find those moves. But for me, it just tells me more and more, stay away unless you see one thing, high volume. That's the number one thing you need to see. And if you'll see, even the gurus, when this type of moment happens, they move to only those plays too. There's a reason why. They need the liquidity, and so do you.
Yeah, and it's one of those, when the market's not doing anything, the market's moving up or down 0.25% a day. You need to get the juice from those crazy guys. When the market's doing this, you can just trade the market. And so that's why we're so focused on these names. But it doesn't look like, we're about to get a 5-minute bar close under this level right here. That one little bounce attempt we had just failed miserably. So this is very much a look out below kind of moment, because the opening drive has gotten us under this wick right here. So if we're going to recover later in the day, that would be interesting, but there's just no sign of that right now. There's no reason for me to get kind of bullish here on any of the things that I'm looking at.
Relative strength. Just looking out there, Home Depot and Lowell.
Yeah, nice push on Home Depot.
Holding the 90 MA on pullback, 358. We'll see if it can continue. A nice 356 pullback to the VWAP would be looking good there on the 15 minutes. So I like that. 356 for Home Depot. We'll see if we get it back there. 356 to 355 would be an interesting buy zone for me in Home Depot.
So there's MLGO triggering to the short side. So,
Kathy favorite.
This guy? This MLGO is?
He has it in ARKK.
Oh, sure. Why not? So it's probably a really good short then, if Kathy loves it. So let's I'm watching this one.
It's interesting. They're watching it off that 1960 area. So there it is. You see it right there, show up on the offering there at the 1960. They're watching it on that. The only concern for me is high wicks and zones all in that $20. So $20 is the big spot to see this thing really take off there. There it is. Look how quickly the 20 came. You see how it was being watched. Look how quickly that 20 came. Now it's going to go probably into a hole in a second here. Just be careful, traders. Big spread on this thing, but MLGO just ripping there, guys. The only place I would get it at again is I'd be throwing out a small order at like 20 here. Just being like, oh, well, if you bid out and just grab me at 20, I'll take it. There's the move to 20, almost 21 now.
See a pre-market high is 2150-ish. So through then, look out. So
yeah, here comes the halt pretty soon here, guys. And you could be getting into the 22s. You still got a little room there to get the halt.
Yeah, so I didn't end up taking that. I was watching it. Looks like it would have been. Again, that's what we talk about with relative strength, right? Everything else was selling. This junky name was moving higher. Sometimes it's just that easy, right? The other thing I'm watching again is Tesla.
Another big thing with that MLGO, liquidity move right before the run. So quick wash through the 19 was a good sign there. Quick wash. So it hit the 20. It slammed all the buyers and then ripped, right? So that's a nice FUBU selling to you and then buying it right back through that 20.
Well, that's a shame. Okay. Now, next target is Tesla here, right? I don't want to spend too much time looking at the one that I missed. And yeah, I'm looking for a 5-minute close above VWAP on our Tesla. And then, right, again, the 2-day VWAP's way ahead. Just watching the SPY, 5-minute bottoming tail. It's trying, but it's got to get all the way back through the pre-market range here in order to be very interesting. So
not looking good out there right now, guys. A lot of sectors just weak. Just slow bleed today, guys. Slow bleed. Even Boeing leaking today.
yeah, everything's there's so SMCI was the other one that we're watching. So that one's showing again. Don't know. It's been a while since I've said this, but relative strength in SMCI. So that's something we have to keep an eye on, right? So if we get this 5-minute close in a minute above this candle, that triggers the algo long. I'm interested in there. I've figured out some explorations on ways to potentially systematically trade
sometimes
these.
it's trade the strongest in the market. Look at this one. Interesting name. CNP. Why are they trading this?
Railroad
Just keeps winning. Center point energy just keeps winning.
Yeah.
Why not? Why not just stay with a winner? Rotate to the winner. Especially when it has this kind of trending of a chart, right? I mean,
nice breakout there for sure.
Here's another name. EXC. Not bad. Just trying to stay with charts that are in tight consolidation and breaking through the highs. Right?
Yeah,
so
nice
that's one thing
there.
that I'm seeing in the utilities to look for. Stocks breaking through some consolidation and near the high, right? Here's another one, ED. Right.
Nice.
So this is common chart right now.
So EVs, I know these are utilities, I think, all these guys.
Yeah, they're different names, but what you got there on the SMCI kind of doing that break?
I bought some SMCX here.
Oh, good Lord, man. You're going into dumpster fires for me, Michael.
It's relatively strong to the market, at least today anyway. So, right,
I hear you, my friend.
Here's the simple trade. You're buying it there, stop the low of the day, targeting that 2-day VWAP. So that's 2-to-1 risk reward. Then you just let it work. A couple others that triggered. I got the alerts there. You guys saw Hood triggering. So Hood's interesting there. I may actually take, there's a double leverage on this one too, but I can't remember right now. It's a HODL. No.
Hodl.
But that's Hodl. Again, the same idea.
Hodl. XLE back to the 9250s. Looks pretty interesting here, risk to reward wise.
The reason I'm okay with that is because we see the SPY attempting to hold on a little bit. So we've got the first 45 minutes or so out of the way. And now we're bouncing a little bit. And then Tesla is the final watch here. So let us see.
Gosh, looking good there, guys. I'm trying to find stocks in the oil that are doing good here. ConocoPhillips, COP.
So SMCX is working here a little bit. So I need to probably not going to hold the whole thing for that big move. I'm going to probably look to sell half here because we get the SPY bouncing back through that pre-market low, back through the level, and flirting with VWAP. So if we get a push there, I also got triggered there.
XLE right back to the high, guys, right back.
I triggered in some Tesla here as well. I did TSLL instead. So that's the setup there. TSLL, then SMCX. So far, these things are working out. So again, we'll just see if the SPY can hold, right? It came all the way back up to this VWAP. That's the most important bit. If we can get through that, right? What I don't want to see is it to come up to VWAP and this low and then just reject that. We got to move on from there.
All right, trying to see gold bottom out a little bit here. I would like to see the SPY attempt to back towards that low. Going to continue to watch there, guys. Watching to see if we start to use the 15-minute kind of closing action from the pre-market, which was around 549.13. Closing action 549.33, somewhere in that area as resistance here to get another move down. We'll see what happens. Just watching today a lot of the opening action, guys. One of the things that I think is very important during these uncertain times is waiting, guys. Phillies cap with a raised shirt. Interesting. How is this a Phillies cap? No, this is trade the pool, guys. Trade the pools. If this was a Phillies hat, it would be burned already, but we won't get into that.
So
Phillies,
yeah, we've got,
man. Come on, man. Philly.
So both Tesla and SMCX are working for me, but I don't trust any of them or anything in this market. So
yeah,
I'm
it's a tough one.
Looking to scalp these things pretty quick, but
gold coming back, guys. GOLD now back at 1910s. A little part of me was thinking about buying it there at the 19s. It's already gone up about 10 cents from there. It's just one of those where it's still below VWAP. I'm looking for some type of strength to hold here. I could look to see if it dumps one more time to the 1890s and then comes back here. But GOLD starting to come back.
Yeah, SPY is starting to come back. It's now made it through VWAP. If we look at the Qs, still really relatively weak on the Qs. But yeah, the SPY is definitely getting through the level here. Definitely holding.
Yeah, XLE held really well there, guys. The strength and the energy is really strong there, guys. So watch out. XLE really strong there. I caught it just before it broke that 92.50, but it was a quick run to 93 there on the XLE. I'll show you guys that right now. Nice little quick run there in the XLE. We'll see if this can continue going through there. XLE looking strong there. So looking around to see what else I can trade on that. COP looked really good. But it hasn't pulled back yet. It's holding strong around the 104. I like how it held the 90 MA here. It's looking pretty good to start kind of doing a little bit of some trend reversal here and continue going here. GOLD just continuing back here, guys. 1 hour undercut, working really well through this 19 undercut there. Went down there all the way to 1877, but ever since then, recovering almost 1920s now. So I could have got a good trade there, at least right off the start there on the 19 recovery. Looking good here, now holding VWAP. We'll look to see if it just continues to rip back and gets back to the open. That's 1940s. It's working its way really quickly.
Same with the SPY, grinding its way back to highs.
The XXX right back on the lows here. So let's see what happens here. I think this is a big spot right now. Do we keep just ripping in the SPY or do we start to bounce? So same thing there. It'd be the VXX, right? Bouncing back up. We'll see what happens. I think this is a big spot. It's opening levels that I think are also really a big watch here, right? So about 549.89, opening 549.87. So we're watching off of the opening action right now, essentially.
Yeah, so my SMCX, I'm taking partials here already just because what a move, right? We're a little over 1-to-1. So I got my risk back. Now I'm trying to hold the rest. Tesla, not doing as well, right? Still up. I took TSLL on that. So about flat. But yeah, SMCX has been amazing. So that might be all that I would need today. So just having a plan, looking at essentially what I'm looking at when I look down here. So I've just got 6 charts, all that meet the algo that I'm looking to trade. And SMCX was just the strongest because it didn't get anywhere near its pre-market low. SPY broke the pre-market low. Qs broke the pre-market low. SMCI couldn't. So again, SMCX is just a way just to get a little bit more juice on that. So you have to commit a little less buying power to it.
Copper coming back today. That's one to watch there. It doesn't look too bad on the day. Just looking for it to kind of come back to VWAP on certain plays. And I don't mind making a play on that. We'll see what happens. Energy continuing to push there, trying to get a new high.
Yeah, what a reversal. So far, right, that puts us looking at the 30-minute chart here. Undercut of that main level. Buyers kind of coming in here in force. So got a minute left in the first 30-minute candle. That opening 30-minute candle, if we close above that zone, that could just trigger a little bit of a buy program to come in here and say, okay, we're gonna rip it on the day. So many people were expecting a breakdown of that level. Right? Bears coming in, blood in the streets, and blah 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 blah. It wouldn't shock me for those people to be really, really wrong. The people that just woke up bearish and just said, I'm just going to short this thing into oblivion. Wouldn't shock me to see them bounce it and bounce it pretty hard. And then if they're going to break it, they break it later once everyone gets bulled back up again. Always playing the other side of the sentiment. So SMCX continuing to move here. It's getting close to a green on the day here. So again, just peeling little bits out as it comes up. The ultimate target being the 2-day VWAP. That's where I'll take the rest off and then move on. Tesla doing okay. I mean, it's not selling, but massive move to go here on that. It's really just been SMCX kind of leading here. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see if we break the next big areas is 551. Just because we have pre-market highs here, here, and here. So we've hit that level a couple times. So if we break through that, then yeah, they're basically just wrecking everyone who came in bearish and just taking them to the woodshed. And then, I don't know, maybe tomorrow they roll it back over. But
I just see still a lot of weakness. I'm still not seeing the financials and industrials break through the highs, so I need to see those kind of push through to see if this rally can hold. Before, I was kind of reacting pretty early to the jumps. I think at this point, I kind of have to start seeing some trend change on those charts to really start thinking that we're coming back. But I understand in the short term on the day trade action to play these kind of quick moves. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just I feel like I got my face stuffed way too much last week replaying that one. So I'm on the sidelines with it today.
SMCX getting...
See if it can hold here.
I'm going to wuss out here. I'm going to take the rest of my SMCX. The ultimate target's another 60, 70 cents above. But I mean, as we're just rallying here, that's what I was kind of looking at. I should just put out the target there. I should just leave it. That's what I should do. Talk myself into it. Just amazing move, right? It's all I need for the day. If I could snag one or two of those. Palantir did the same thing. I just missed it. Right? Again, we're looking for things that spend the whole morning under VWAP, break back through VWAP, and that 5-minute close above. That's where we end up buying. Same with TSLL. We buy in through here, that 5-minute close above VWAP after spending the whole morning below. These were all kind of the textbook setups, but really it's all just being driven the fact that the SPY is rallying here. We're getting close to that 551 level. Yeah, I'm kind of with you, Mitch, where I'm a little bit gun shy because last week was...
Yeah, just gun shy. I think a lot of traders will be. So that could be the day that they try to push it back, right?
I was going to say, as soon as when they're gun shy, that's when they'll rip us, right?
Yeah, this is the way it works. So one way to do it is to trade the trend, but trade it small, right? And there's nothing wrong with doing that. Just trying to gain back some of the action, right? I think one of the areas that I'm just going to continue to watch for the strength is XLE just continuing to push there, guys. So that's not a bad area to look at for some long-term growth there. MPC recovering. Chevron, one of the top charts, really looking strong today as it holds the 90 MA after a recent breakout. I mean, this just looks as pretty as it gets. Sometimes we start looking for trades out there versus looking for the non-sexy areas, energy, utilities. Both of those trades to me look non-sexy right now, But boy, oh boy, are they working.
Yeah, Tesla's moving a little bit here, popping up as
Johnson
the
and
SPY
Johnson,
is.
just to mention one name that I haven't been playing today, but has had a really nice day. Johnson and Johnson could recover here. I like it.
Yeah, it's holding VWAP really well. Buyers coming in every time we get there. Tesla going, so that's the only other trade that I've taken today, and it's probably going to be the only other trade that I take because we're flirting with that 551. That's really where I'm laser focused right now to see if we have this level beat. If we go from here, if we end up getting green on the day, then look out. But yeah, this is one of those things where I think they could have slapped a lot of people that just woke up and said, oh, we're gapping down and the market's bearish. Then we could go from there. But I think it's really this 551. That's what we got to watch next. Just looking, it's that number that no one cared about was the Chicago. That thing hit, and now there's absolutely nothing. So there's nothing for the rest of the day. So we got someone else trading Tesla with me, it looks like.
Gilead doing well today. Some of those healthcare names that I talked about, those value healthcare, I'm starting to see doing decent there.
Yeah, XLV is getting pretty close to green on the day already. It's only down 0.1%.
You know, one of the things that I'm trying to do is just trying to keep it simple, guys. What's leading the market today? The XLE, energy, the defensive names, XLP. What's leading the market? XLU, right? And then what's behind that? I'm seeing some healthcare names show up there. So I'm trying to play some of the value names in the market right now. Even though we are seeing this technology come back in the last, let's say, I'll put the 15 minutes because I have the kind of reading here. It's up about 0.23, but from the open, overall average technology on an equally weighted basis is still in the red there for me. So that's where I'm a little bit concerned more and looking for plays outside of tech.
So there's an interesting one that just triggered. So I think I'm going to take a shot on this guy as well, just because everything's doing so well. This was actually alerted by somebody in the chat. I don't know if they were looking long or short, but Shane looks good for a flat top breakout above 28, Shane said. And I think it was back here when he was looking at that. So he would have gotten that move. I just went out to the daily chart, said, yeah, this thing is awful. But kind of overdone, right? And that's what we're looking for with this particular opening range kind of scalp strategy. So we're looking for things that are a little bit overdone that may be bouncing up. So you can see you saw the alert come through on my screen when it did. Got right above VWAP. So I just want to buy a little bit there. Right, targeting again 2-day VWAP, stop the low of the day. Just same thing, repeat. Get it to the point where I think a robot could trade it, and then get a robot to trade it. That's always the end goal. Can you get the robot to just take care of it for you? So I like the look of that one. I think that one looks really, really good.
All right, we're getting some pullback, so we could get an attempted break through the high here on the SPY. Let's see really if the Qs come back. That's really what I'm keeping a very close eye on, the hourly. The hourly has not been able to break through the high. We'll continue to watch to see what happens here on the SPY. SPY also hanging out on the hourly resistance. So big watches above this, right?
Someday, Mitch, we're going to have a big debate on these hourly candles on a market that's open 6.5 hours a day.
I just seen it. Honestly, what made me think about the hourly more was when I was on the New York Stock Exchange. I saw so many people using it. And then I saw them using 15 and an hourly, and then I saw 4 hours and daily. So those are just the charts that I saw, right? So I just kind of used it a little bit further. But I understand. I mean, that's why a lot of people go to the 4 hour.
4 hour on a market that's open 6.5 hours a day. So you get one 4 hour candle and you get one 2.5 hour candle.
I think it's more to do. I guess it's more to do with just the 24. I'm not sure.
That's why I know the guys on Forex and everything love the 4 hour time frame, but Brian Shannon, and I can't get behind this either. He uses a 65-minute candle because then it divides equally into. That's why I use 30-minute charts, is because it's half hour is a half hour. But that's a debate for another day. That's when we should get our like debate clothes on and do it from there. But SMCX, I got out of everything. It's probably going to hit target because every time I get out of everything, it definitely does. So that's looking good. TSLL scaled a little bit out on TSLL, holding the rest there. And then I took mRNA, which hasn't really moved yet. So
GLD, a big miss for me. That recovery of 19 coming back to open for gold. Gold coming back. Gold. I love gold, guys. Trying to get in maybe Pepsi here on the pullback, guys. So we'll see if I'm able to get an entry.
NVIDIA, missed this one. Everything kind of put through this same alert, right? That's why when I was watching, I was trying to pick the ones that weren't breaking their pre-market low, because everything triggered the same thing. So you have to, you only have so much buying power, you only have so much attention you pay, so you have to do something to filter down what you're looking at. But they're all looking the same, right? So
SPY broke it.
Yeah, back through there. Q's made it back through the pre-market low, still relatively weak there. But the SPY is through this 151 level that I was watching. So let's get a close above there just to hold, and then see if we go green. If we go green on the day, I think there's gonna be so many people caught off guard. Like all these people that woke up, looked at said, oh, it's gapping down, and it's gapping down below those levels. I'm gonna get super bared up and short. That's the kind of fuel that the market needs to kind of bounce higher. And again, we're just talking day trading. I'm not saying that's the low. It's time to buy everything forever. But we could just get back into this range and then wait for Liberation Day or whatever we're calling it. So from those who are following the swings side of thing, which I know is something we're going to do more here, I got a lot of swing triggers and bought them all. Right. So I bought some AVGO, that's CRSR. These are all in just my personal account. CRSR, and then there was LEU. I don't even know what this does, but it's an energy group. So I bought a bunch of that as well, right? And these are just revision to the mean kind of plays where I'm looking to buy these, maybe hold them for a week as we bounce, sell them, go back to cash. For my personal account, it's like 75% in cash at this point. So I'm fine with either direction, but obviously I bought these, so I want them to move higher, of course.
Looking around, Q's getting a little bounce there, trying to get back towards the open. Still not at the opening price, so watching for that action to see if the Q's can get above the opening price there, or are we going to start to reject it there? XLE going through the high. Looking around to see what's going on there. XLF not looking too bad. Trying to get back above 49. It's a big spot for it. We'll see if it gets back above that. XLI also trying to get back there towards 130.
So there's Robinhood back to the 2-day VWAP and not quite green on the day. Not quite. Down still a little bit. Yeah, so all these things are, again, not green on the day, but up big from that initial sell-off, right? I'm really just watching the SPY. I think there's probably a lot of algos and systems out there just programmed for that kind of red to green type move if it can get through there. I'm actually just going to add that to the list here as well.
MLGO went all the way up there to past 25, now working its way back down towards 22. That was a monster.
Yeah, Hood.
You're going to hear more about GUR, my friend, as GUR pulls back to VWAP after a rip to 28, back down to 2650s here. Trying to recover VWAP. This is my VWAP fake out fade, but on the upside of things. So you get 3 attempts to break down through the VWAP, and now you look for reversal, bullish engulfing candle with a nice cross on the MACD. Something like that could be a good look here for a pullback on GUR technology.
Yeah, and I think I told you I do, and I'm doing that today too over at Stock Twits.
There you go. You know what stock you're talking about.
Chart request every time, every single time. I've been doing it for a couple months now. It's like the number one requested stock. So
Grr.
no idea what they do, but yeah, it's got a lot of retail backing anyway, which is
So you got to bring the
never
meme
a bad
today,
thing.
guys. So you got to bring the meme, Michael Noss. When they ask you about this, I want you to put on the screen Invader Zim, and he had this little creature that was his pet. It was an alien, and it was called Gur. So yes, Gur. That's why I call this stock Gur. Looks good here to break maybe the 27 and go for a run, especially with these stocks that are similar making a run right now. It doesn't look too bad, guys. I mean,
There you go.
I talked myself into it. Too late. Too late, guys. It ran on me. It ran on me right there. Like it just jumped like from like 2670s to 27 in less than 2 seconds there when I was pulling it up. It's at 2720s right now, already breaking towards the breakout look, but now it's a little hard. For me, the only entry now is at 2664. So right there. There it goes. There's Gur for you. There you go. Michael, just pull that up. They'll love you on Stock Twits for it. If they don't love you for this one, I don't think they'll love you for any of them. But yeah, there's your meme with the stock, and we'll see if it goes. And the key with Gur was all about these burritos. This place actually becomes an evil villain, and it gets legs and walks and everything. So watch out with those burritos. You know what I mean? That taco hell.
All right. Yeah, so TSLL, I took out most, right? These things are, it's just the market's been ripping so much. I got to think that we're getting a pullback here at some point in the near future. So I've just been taking out kind of everything. SMCX, Hood. Hood will be very interesting. Hit the 2-day VWAP to the tick and then start to reverse from it. This, I think, actually might be my next idea is instead of necessarily just getting the push through the 1-day VWAP into the 2-day, what I might just do is look for stocks and scan for stocks that are hitting that 2-day VWAP as potential mean reversion plays. Look for a little bit overextension into the 2-day VWAP. Look to take those kind of off. SMCI, right, got very, very close and started to pull off that as well. So that might be another way to do it. mRNA didn't do anything. I'm actually going to kill this one pretty soon. I think I'm going to add to this strategy because it's supposed to be a very quick strategy. What's called a time stop. Some people call it a shot clock, whatever you want to call it. But essentially, you give it a period of time. And if it doesn't do anything for you in that period of time, you just kill it. And if it goes without you later, that's fine. But the idea is that you have that. You know, for me, it might just be like 3 candles, right? So if I give it 3, so at the end of this candle, if it's not green, you get out. And I got this idea too from Peter Bryant, who's a very successful swing trader. He's been trading for 50 some odd years. It's crazy. He's like 85. He started swinging. He's been in the market wizard books, the whole 9 yards. And he just has a policy as a swing trader. Anything red on Friday, he sells. And then if he mulls it over on the weekend, he still wants it, he'll buy it back on Monday. But kind of thinking the same thing from a day trading point of view. Right, you buy something, you give it 15 minutes. If it doesn't get green on you, you just kill it for whatever price. And then, right, when you're in cash and you're thinking a little bit more sensibly, maybe you buy it back later. So a little bit of a pullback happening here in the market. So we'll see. Obviously, VWAP is going to be an interesting test if we get down there. Something tells me we won't. Just so many people just bared up this morning so much that it could be one of these things where we don't give the bears a chance to recover, to get out of their shorts for a decent price at all.
Those burritos, man, they could have got me some. We'll see what happens here, guys. Definitely seeing some pullbacks out there now in the SPY, starting to pull back. Qs did not get back towards that opening price there. So technology still stumbling. We'll see what happens there. I think this is just one of those kind of trend type of days. We'll see if it goes all the way back to the low. And one thing to keep in mind is that it's month end right now, the end of the March It could be some kind of window dressing action going on. Of course, new position, quarter end, and things like that. So that's what leads me towards more of that Pepsi chart here. I didn't take the trade because I'll be honest, I think I'm being a little greedy here on the Pepsi chart. I love the setup, but it's only going to get me like $1.50. That's how much buying power I have for it. And it just didn't seem like that big of an opportunity for it. But Pepsi, really good looking chart there, guys. Now as it starts to come back here on the defensive game, I just love the 15-minute return to the 9 EMA right there, recovering around the 150.50. Now can get back towards the highs. Looking good here. XLP, I'll look for it to bounce off the 81s here. Coke, look for the VWAP bounce right back up. Procter Gamble, right back up. I'm looking for the Clorox trade. I'm looking for the defensive trade to stay hot here. We'll see what happens.
When you talked about those bigger accounts, right? Something like a Pepsi.
It's definitely something you can trade right there.
Right, because the problem with doing something like that in a smaller account is like, what are you going to make? $10, right? If you're right, you know,
I could have made like 150. I could have made the max, like using every cent that I had.
Yeah,
there. I could have made like $1.50. And to me, it just seemed like I had other opportunities to get after it. I was thinking also VXX to the long side because that's the one that I could make money, right? $1 comes quickly on that, and I can get 300, 400 shares, right? Something like that, right? So we're starting to see that start to come back there. GOLD should have been my bet, though. That's what I felt like through this 19. I could have rolled that trend back to the open, sold it at the open, right? And then just looking to catch the dip from there on. But GLD, not a bad looking dip there. And this is the classic one, breaking through a major support, recovering back towards the open. And we don't need to sell it at the resistance. Even selling it back at the open, a lot of the times is going to get you a nice risk to return. That's all we're looking for. There's Pepsi starting to work its way back now. 150, 130s.
SPY pulling back to test VWAP there. So it's coming back in here. So grab this.
You get a test for AU if you think that we are going to get that down day. Maybe gold can continue somehow making breaks to the upside. AU not looking too bad, but GLD rejecting a little bit. Tells me more and more we could fill the gap, right? Maybe fill the gap and then start working in the next couple of days. So many people showing up with gold. Even Robinhood started talking about how they were going to hand out gold to customers, like actual physical bars. That's a sign. That's a sign if I've ever seen one, right?
Top, yeah.
You get what I mean, Michael? So that's a sign just to tell you guys, right? And so look out for that trade, right? Because honestly, AU is a good vehicle on the upside and the downside. I'll tell you that. Because when this does break the 9 EMA and does start to trend lower, it has a tendency of doing this, where it can run, and then it can give you 2 or 3 months to the downside, right? And so I kind of like trading AU. It's a really fun swing vehicle, right? When you get it right, you can ride the trend higher. When you get it wrong, you get out, and you keep trying to play till you get that trend move. Look for charts that can do this, where it can ride for months at a time. Right, so the monthly chart will give you that good sign. Months up, months down, months up, months down, right? You want to see that type of pattern. Months up, months down, months up, months down. And you can ride those trends and make some good money.
Yes, the SPY pullback didn't quite hit VWAP, but got pretty close. Tesla did. So Tesla came back down to VWAP. So if anyone wants to reload on Tesla, that might be the area. I'm out of that. I'm out of everything. mRNA, right? It did that third candle, so that one's dead as well. So I'm pretty much done there for the day for the opening range breaks, which is what I want. That first kind of half hour, 45 minutes. That's the trade to have there. Again, as I get closer to fully automating that away, and now I'm hunting for that potential kind of all day hold, and I'm thinking it might be the market. So I think the market might not break back to lows. So I want to try to look for the best vehicle to do that, whether that's SPXL or whether that's TQQQ. But the Qs have been relatively weak here. So I definitely probably don't want to do it with that. I probably want to do it with something like an SPXL. I was on the streets, as Mitch says. I was looking at
you got to sometimes.
My bear list went quiet. They were so noisy all Sunday night, all this morning. And then all of a sudden after this bounce, they all went quiet, which just makes me think they're all kind of caught completely off guard. So
big rejection in MLGO, guys. I missed the short there off the 23s. It looked really interesting for me. It might go into down halt now. I'm a little late to the game here, so I'm not shorting it just right now. But man, I hate when I get to charts like this, guys. When you get to a chart like just 1 or 2 minutes late in the trade. So I got to the chart when it was already on this red candle, not on this up move here to the 2350s. So that's the kind of the rule of 3 just rejecting here. So an up 1, quick down move, up 2, quick down move, up 3. Then you get this quick liquidity type of pullback where it tries to break out to the upside here. So as long as it's not above 2308s right now, it still looks like a rejection. It could easily come right back down. So of course, you look at the daily, you see an overextension above the Bollinger Bands, pretty extended away from the 9 EMA on the daily. Tells me more and more. On the daily, there is still uncertainty in the market. In the market, price action could come down. This could also come crashing down. So we'll see what happens there, guys.
Yeah, this MLGO definitely has a history of just completely falling apart super, super quickly throughout the day as it breaks down through VWAP, right? This tanking like $2, I don't think would surprise anyone if it did it in 2 minutes or so. So definitely one to watch if it's gonna give way. This is one of those super micro short kind of short float type things where there's not a lot of action there from the float side of things. So yeah, if it got back below those wicks at 22 or 23, that might be interesting.
Yeah, MLGO, I think I already missed it. It was right there at the 23s because then I can risk up to this rejection zone, right? And so that was the key there, is that I have to know where my risk is more on this chart. Not necessarily where do I want to short this chart. What are the zones? So there's a zone here, right, in between this, right? And that's what the short time frame traders are watching. And there was a zone up here, right? And so in that zone, that rejection of that 23 zone, right? Breakdown through that, then a rejection in that zone is what you want to see, because I can use that essentially and find resistance here to risk off of, right? And it's all about risk to return a lot of the times. As long as that can make sense, a lot of trades can make sense. And now I'd look for the breakdown of this zone through the 22s, right? This was where it tried to break down before. So I'm looking for the 22 breakdown of the zone. And it shouldn't even come back to the 23. Back through the 23 is a scared moment where the shorts could squeeze, right? So at this point, I'm looking for breakdown through the 22s and for it to come back to the VWAP. First test, VWAP always, right? That's 2180s. And that could be your first sign to take profits and then looking to see if buyers step back in. If they don't, then you get the wash to the next zone. To me, the next zone is right here in this little bunch up, right? So that's where we're trying to get to. And then if you can't hold there, if there's no buying on the VWAP, you just move back into the zones, right? It's a lot of this is understanding with these smaller names. You got to understand where the zone is. Where do you want to be longing? Where do you want to be shorting on these charts?
Yeah, so this one, I don't know, the way that I would potentially look at it to play it, although I won't because these get me into trouble more than anything.
Energy, don't stop, won't stop, can't stop.
Yeah, I would look at MLGO to maybe flush VWAP. If it breaks VWAP, right, that's the setup. And if you go back, sometimes it's just good to go back through the history of the stock.
There's that 22 hit right to the VWAP.
Flushes VWAP, crashes down. Right, flushes VWAP,
just a miss, man.
So,
it's one of those frustrating 1 minute. I was feeling it, guys. I was like, all right, Mitch, it's 10:30. Let's get after it.
Yeah, this could be one of those fade all day, I think, if it breaks through there. And then yeah, you're right. That this kind of 23 to 23.30, this high of this 5 minute wick, right? If it gets back above there, you're probably wrong. These things, I'm bad at them, right? I see Steph. I'm actually like super jealous because she's in there all the time trading these crazy ones and does very, very well. At least the setup I came up with. And again, I'm a systematic trader. I don't bet on my own ability to look at a chart and to say it's going to go up or down, right? I develop systems and I trade those systems. Just seem to work better on the slower guys, right? The SMCIs, the Palantirs, the Teslas, that kind of thing. But everything's bleeding back in here. We got a doji here on the 5-minute chart on the SPY last time, and then maybe that's kind of what's setting up this time too. So right back to VWAP, we'll see what happens there. Look at some of these names like Nvidia, right back to lows. So
real quick,
love there, right? The Q's relatively weak, but we talk about this all the time. We don't need Nvidia anymore, right? I don't think we need Nvidia to be the biggest things that's pushing up. It's the rest of the market can do it. Like you've been talking about energy all day, making new highs today. So who needs it? Now it's going to be painful for those people who kind of cut their teeth on trading and they only trade, Nvidia. I know people
look
that
at Chevron, new
Tesla.
high. Chevron's pushing strong, man. That's one of the strongest charts I've been talking about, and it is pushing today.
Right, so that's the rotation, right? And rotation is painful for indices because they're really cap weighted. So Nvidia going down and 20 other stocks going up is still going to hurt the index. It doesn't mean it has to hurt, right, your individual trades.
There's the buck 50 there, guys. It's right there. The alert. Look at this. Buck 50. There it is. There's the buck 50. Yeah. It wasn't a bad trade, guys. It just wasn't so sexy. But in this time, these trades sometimes are going to make the better sense. It's less risk to return on these. But at the end of the day, that's a good trade. Nice little pullback to that 150, held really well. XLP right back to the highs. Coke did the same move. Literally VWAP hold, really pretty there. So now I'm looking at where's the volume going in this space. Some of it's going to Clorox, looking at Colgate-Palmolive, PG. This is why I feel like the down action in the market is still being played right now. Yeah, we're getting a bounce, but what's leading these sectors? The sectors are the defensive areas. And so that's what puts me on concern. The XLU pulling back, right? And we'll see if these change. That's why I just want to stay with the sectors right now. I think it's a lot of watching sectors right now and for rotation to actually hold.
Yeah, and that's just, that's the nature of it, right? It can't be the same guys forever, right? And I know people like that and they get kind of addicted to trading those same guys, but just can't be those guys forever, right? If you look at RSP today, it's not down very much, right? Just showing that the rest of the market is doing okay. It's just the big guys that you know and love, right? So this is the SPY, right? The S&P 500. This is RSP. For those who don't know, RSP is the same 500 names. It's just not cap weighted. So it gives an equal weighting to every stock inside of it as opposed to the S&P 500, which is cap weighted. And we're almost green on the RSP, just showing us that, right, there are places in the market that are doing absolutely fine. It is just the SPY with things like Nvidia that are weighing it down. So starting to see a little bit of a lift. Came down to VWAP, seeing a little lift on the SPY here. So that'll be interesting. If VWAP holds, then great. Again, I've been spending my morning buying things for my own personal swing account. So I hope it bounces, but again, I'm still mostly in cash, so I'm not too worried about if it doesn't.
All right, we'll see what happens here. Starting to see some stocks starting to push there. XLI trying to push, financials trying to push. So just continue to watch that. I still feel like the SPY is kind of holding on a lot better, of course, in the Qs. You can clearly see that. So yeah. I'm just looking to see other sectors be the area where it leads to rally back.
We can go to the heat map here, right? So retail is doing great, except for Amazon. Healthcare is doing great, except for Eli Lilly. Energy, right? We talk about this all morning, going crazy. Health services going great as well. Finance doing kind of mixed. It's just really, it's tech, right? That's pulling us down.
Home improvement, man, HD all day long.
Yeah, boom. It's a really interesting candle pattern on the daily chart too. That gap down and then rally. If that closes green, I might actually put some Home Depot in my long-term account.
Yeah, we're definitely seeing some complete strength in the defensive area, guys. I can go through some of these names, but there's some really strong looking charts also. One of the names that we talked about, DG, continuing the strength there. Tyson Foods, nice little push back to 60 floors. Smuckers, Walmart, Tap, some tobacco going higher. Dollar Tree, Coke, Pepsi. So it just seems like the money keeps rotating. Monster staying one of the hottest RSIs, still staying hot. So Colgate Palmolive coming in, and Philip Morris. It just seems to be like a lot of volume.
Chart?
Yeah, Monster's interesting, man.
It's in the last decade, it's like the largest winner, better, like larger than Nvidia, larger than 100. And I'm just doing
this is why people bet on Celsius, man. This is why people ran with this one. And I felt like it was time to see the turnaround back down here on monthly support, and you got it. Remember, this one also got picked up by Pepsi. So now it's being distributed by Pepsi, which gives up some margins. I will say that that's not the best thing, as being someone that knows the game in grocery stores and let's say gas stations, because I used to run 7-Elevens at some point. And I can tell you that when you do this distribution game with Pepsi, it usually starts with a big boom of some excitement like Monster, and then usually runs into some tightening down of the margins, because of course Pepsi is trying to move volume, right? And so they'll start trying to do deals with your stuff like 2 for 3s and things like that. It starts to compress margins, right? But Celsius doing really well here and having a decent day. So this is kind of like defensive growth, if there is such a thing.
SPY new high days there. Yeah, MSTR, just the monthly chart.
So here's what's picking up, right? Let's look at what's picking up. Financials, XLF, right there. Now starting to actually break through some intraday highs and showing some strength, right? Industrials starting to work your way back, right? Energy continuing at the highs there. Now I think what you need to look to see is what takes the next lead, right? And another thing to point at, and I do this all the time, guys. I like to point at what's being the change from the last 5 minutes and things like that. I think it's very important to take a look at that. That kind of action can catch the move really quickly. And look here, guys, I got you. Here's your move, Michael. Here it's starting there. Technology back at the top, right? 0.6 in the last 10 minutes. Basic materials starting to come back there. Cyclicals at the top. Industrials, financials. Now those names that were at the top, energy, utilities, and defensives, they're still moving higher, but you're getting an overall relief rally. Now starting to come to certain sectors like technology, cyclicals. So now you can start to look to see what in technology is doing well in the big boys, right? Which one of those names do you want to maybe ride the trend? TSM seems like one of those right off the bat. It's up over 1%. And just holding a trend, right? So I'd continue to see that maybe those are the names that continue to be strong here. Google starting to break above the VWAP. AMD, clear momentum, right? And we know that AMD is a momentum name in technology, right? When technology gets a run, AMD has a tendency of having bigger bars. So just continue to watch that. We'll see what happens there. ARM trying to come back through kind of the move there. Looking through here, TXN, that's nothing that really stands out to me. Those are pretty much it. The big boys are kind of struggling. Apple's in the green. That can continue lifting, right? So watch to see some of the big boys kind of take hold here. They need to take the lead.
Well, and the thing to note, right, is the big boys won't always be the big boys. And they've never always been the big, right? So, depending on how far back you go, Tesla, Amazon, Meta, all these things were not even part of the S&P 500, and it still made 8 to 10% year over year, push over push, right? So, it's just one of those things where, you don't need these guys to have a bull market. You don't. We have the history. You can go and look, right? Interesting is I have RSP here, which again I talked about is the equal weight S&P 500. That's green on the day. So the average stock is up, right? So the average stock is up on the day, which is great. It just, the big guys are struggling, right? If you look at the SPY, you go on an intraday chart, right? Made a new high of day, and then you look at Nvidia, and it's struggling a little bit, right? So just one of those where it's rotation. We've been talking about it all year. It's what the market just does. It has a big push on some theme, and then there's rotation within the market on other themes, and then it has another push later. It has happened and will continue to happen, and kind of until the end of time. So it's what we expect to see. One of the things that I'm looking to do now is I'm going to actually change these view app break alerts. Instead of 5 minutes, I'm going to put them on 15-minute charts for the rest of the day, just because I was looking at something like Nvidia here. If it got back through and closed on a 15-minute basis, maybe that would be interesting to me. Same with an mRNA. And if it got back through and it closed right here in this candle through that chart, through that view app, that might be an interesting buy here as well. So there's definitely some interesting potential action, but it's all about the SPY, right? Getting through this level, holding through this level, right? Came down to view app and exploded off of view app. This wasn't just a little push up here as well. It exploded off of view app, and for me, that just says that that's a buy program. As it pulled back, we talk about this all the time. The reason I'm interested in view apps is because market makers, hedge funds, large institutions, order execution firms, they use view app to fill trades. They have to use something, so they use view apps, and they use buy signals or buy programs and sell programs to fill trades. So that felt to me anyway, as it came down, someone said, okay, I want to get really, really long the market. I'm flipping on the buy signal, and then we get that push back up. So that's what I want to see. That's what I'm interested in, to remain to be bullish in the overall market.
I'm with you, at least in the short term right now. I'm going to try to ride this trend higher here, at least for the short term. We'll see what happens, right? How much of this can move. I went with just Soxel because I'm looking for something that's cheap here, right? So I'm long here, guys, on Soxel pullback. And a big part of this is just the 5-minute chart, 9 EMA, trying to start holding, right? So I want to see this break through here and go towards the 525 in a hurry. So it needs to go to this 1525 in a hurry, right? And start to climb back towards this resistance of 1550. Let's see if we can get that move. Wanted to hold that 9 EMA here and break through the high. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, it does feel like a very bullish type of a day. Again, you saw it everywhere. All the bears getting, I woke up to, there's going to be blood in the streets. We're breaking this low. It's all over.
I mean, you can't blame them either, though. You can't blame them because it was a pretty ugly day on Friday. It was an ugly day on Friday. So, of course, the bears are going to be out, right? Let's be honest, right? After real bullish days, the bulls stick their head out, right? Let's put it this way. Like when we started seeing that rally, right? There was a lot of bulls that said we wouldn't come back to the lows, right? And we did, right? And so I think that's one thing to kind of keep an eye out. Now I think it's just more like that daily level, right? Like everyone's watching. Are we going to close green today or red? Another thing to think about is there's going to be a lot of action towards the close today as you get the end of the day, the end of the month, right? So options expiration comes into play, which could cause some pickup of volume towards the end of the day. That's why I think you could also maybe get a rally today, though, too, right? Like a little bit of a shake into that. Then we'll see what happens towards the close and after hours. But here it is, guys. Soxel starting to push here. Let's see if we can get a good move here right out the gates. And then I'm looking for a quick move to sell into. Not an all-day rally for me. I just want to ride some of the trend higher, take some of the cash, and get the heck out.
Yeah, it's, Charles Dow taught us 100 years ago, the closing price is the most important price. My point was just when everybody's bearish and aggressively bearish, you want to be buying. Just like when everyone's bullish.
Yeah.
That doesn't flip to me as much because the market generally goes up. Like people were buying pictures of rocks for millions of dollars in 2020. Then the market went up another, 50% from there. So it's just when everybody out there was looking, and also just talking about technical analysis, if everybody is looking at the same level, that level is not going to be clean, right? We're not just going to break it and move in one direction. It's just not going to be that good. So no, again, I'm still in the camp of a lot of these people are going to have a bad time, and then I still think, even with today's action, that the tariff day or whatever is going to be a viable event. Could be wrong, right?
Yeah, man.
Stops are
Not
more,
seeing
but
not seeing much of the continued strength there. The one area I see continue to struggle, and think we need to watch for it, is a 462 takeout of the Qs. Right, every time we go into this 462 on the bounce, we keep running into a wall really quickly there, and we're almost back towards a 15-minute red candle, which opened up at 459.35. So we'll see what happens there, as the Qs just seem like to have a little bit of some altitude, where it just loses altitude every time it gets to the resistance. GOLD trying to break through that high there in the intraday, and as it pulled back to 19, that was a good looking level there. It's starting to retrace there on that level there, as XLF breaks 49, starts to slow down a little bit here. Let's see if we can get to 49.20s to 50. It's a big watch there.
Yeah, I just went from being 75% in cash in my big boy account to 20-30% in cash. I bought a lot of things today, so hopefully we get a little bit of a bounce there. So I am certainly talking my own book a little bit, but it just feels like they're not giving people too much of a chance. Now we are getting to that noonish kind of lunchtime-ish phase, so we could kind of chop around. And then you're right, what happens after lunch, I think, is kind of the most important, the most interesting, right? We had this initial shakeout that got all the bears excited, and we ripped their face off. Maybe we spend the afternoon just chopping around, and then we take some move into the close, either super bullish or super bearish. But yeah, for me, it's the beauty of being a retail trader, right? Institutions can't act this quick. If we roll over and sell off into the end of the day, all those things I bought, I'll probably sell for small losses. If we get a nice 2 or 3 days of a sustained bounce, then there'll probably be big wins. And that's all you do over and over and over again. Right? Small losses and big wins again and again and again, and then eventually it compounds up to something meaningful.
Qs have my eyes, guys, at 462. I think the SPY is already through the levels of concern for me. It's more about the Qs for me holding in here. And if I look at the SPY, what would I be watching? I'm watching for hourly resistance around 550.80s to hold here. We're pulling back right into that spot. There's 9 EMAs sitting at 550.25. So as long as 9 EMA can continue to hold on 15-minute charts for the SPY, that's looking good. Where I see the resistance kind of building is the 9 EMA on the 15 on the Qs. And that's where it's like, okay, so just get me through that 9 EMA, get me above the price action there to 462. And then I'm starting to feel real nice about this continued climb, but we'll see what happens here. It's a tight move. Let's see if we get it.
Yeah, we just continue to battle with this 551 level, right? Pre-market level here, came through it, keep rejecting on this kind of 15-minute basis. We get through and then we sell, we get through, then we sell. Yeah, so we just need some kind of sustained move in here. It looks like we're trying to break that again. So above these kind of wick highs at 152, then again, 2-day VWAP might be the target there. Yeah, Tesla is trying here as well to get back above VWAP, so that might be an interesting one.
Here we go. We're going for the break. Qs. I'm watching that 462 to be my signal for pullback ads here. I'm already in good amount on SoxL, looking for this to continue to climb. They're now up about 20 cents there, close to it. Let's see if we can start to climb that and really start to push here.
Yeah, the Qs are starting to catch up there. SPY is getting up to that level. We just need a little bit of a big push up here. 2-day VWAPs 556. That's a pretty massive level, so I don't know if I'd expect that to get hit today or too quickly. If we do, then yeah, then we've turned green on the day, and all of the bears are having a real bad time. Which, again, the beauty of this whole trying to figure out who's a little bit too ahead of their skis is it just fuel for the other side. So for people wondering why we keep talking about that, if you were shorting into this flush down today, as it pushes higher and higher and higher, you are more and more wrong, and more chance that you are going to kind of punch that buy trigger to get out. And if you're wrong enough, the broker's going to punch it for you, right? And then you're going to have to get out via market order. So that's what we're kind of looking for. It's little short-term squeezes, right? Interesting guy who does this a lot is Jason Shapiro, who just uses the commitment of trader data to see if everybody's bullish or everybody's bearish, and then looks just for opportunities to take the other side. Caught data. See if I can find this.
All right, guys, a little pullback here, but market's still holding in where I'm watching Qs. Susie Q, can you break the 462? Show me that level. There's what now on the 1 minute? There's 1, 2, 3, 4 looking resistances above like 461.50s to 462. So that's what I'm looking to see if we take it out.
Yes. Futures, here we go. Where's the legend here? Commercials. Yeah, so this is what I'm talking about with the commitment of trader data. So the commitment of traders is something that they have to disclose. Just a little lesson for you guys. Ever since some brothers, I forget, tried to corner the silver market, the idea is you have to, if you're over a certain amount of the futures market, you have to disclose your position. You have to do it weekly, just to, again, make sure you're not buying the entire market. So what is this data and this chart? Essentially showing blue is your speculators, your large speculators. These guys are normally wrong, not always wrong. And then red is your commercial hedgers. So these are the guys with the more inside information of what they're doing. So these charts can allow you to know who's short and who's long. And the idea is that when you get extremes in one direction or the other, it can be kind of telling. Now, we're definitely not at an extreme, but you can see that the people in the know are long, and the people who are normally wrong are short. And it's just one school of thinking is that you just look for, again, extremes in this scenario, then you take the other side. So like, here's a perfect example on the Russell where everybody who's a speculator was short and everybody with insider information was long, and you had to push up, and then it flips and vice versa. So again, it's not huge either way on any of these things. But it's just, again, it's one of those pieces of data points that you can kind of put a feather in your cap and say, yes. Am I betting with the people who know what they're doing, or am I betting against the people, right? So here on the ES, same thing, where speculators, traders are net short, and commercials are people that are using futures to hedge some sort of operation. That's why they're considered to be people in the know. They're net long. So in that scenario, again, even though it's not an extreme, we know that the people who are betting short. So if you want to go against them, then you'll be looking for opportunities to buy, and vice versa, right? So the commercials turned short right up in here. The people in the know, they got short, you can see right there. So that's the idea as well, right? So it's a little
tough market today, guys. Tough market. Tough
Go
one,
on.
tough one, guys. It really, I mean, to tell you the truth, we haven't really gone anywhere.
No, it was you grab that rip back through the lows right there, or nothing, right?
Or nothing.
And it could continue to be that way.
Yeah.
However, if you look at
Yeah,
the
it's
daily
tough.
chart, that might be constructive. If we put a hammer candle right at these prior lows, that's worse candles to have right there. Interesting though, the Dow almost green, RSP, the equal weight turned green for a second, came back a little bit, but almost green there as well. Q's massively
Huge,
relatively
man.
weak.
That 462, man. It just can't get to it. Can't
Well,
get to it, man.
that's what our buddy Future Billionaire is talking about here, right? Why is it so hard for the Qs? Because the tech's relatively weak. Tech is dragging the market, right? It's if
I
we
don't know, man, but I'm sorry for the $1 trillion that I'm putting on that order there.
yeah, well, it's funny.
It's a
That would be-
whale. It's a whale named Money Mitch.
put just trillion right on the
Like if
market.
there's an iceberg order there or something, man. We can't get through that.
Oh, I think it's one of those. Again, you can see by the heat map, tech's still doing awful, right? Finance more green, retail except Amazon, which this is what's weird about these is like, do you put Amazon? And I know, like, it's messed up because half of Amazon's business is retail, but then the other half is their cloud services, which isn't retail. So it's like, do you put that in this bucket? Do you put it in this bucket? It's just it's hard to show. But yeah, everything except tech is doing very well, and then tech's doing awful. So
the Ger Long appearing interesting for me now, guys. I've been watching that chart develop for a little while now. Above the 27s here, looks like a potential squeeze for the burrito. We'll see what happens.
So there's your little guy, right? How do you get the sector charts? Just in TradingView, they just have a heat map. They call it
Yeah,
stock
man.
heat map.
It's important. It's important to look at. The heat map, I feel like it works, but to me, I rather just like actually go through the sectors. But it's just depending on how you want to look at it. It's just an easy look, right? That's what the heat maps do.
Yeah, it's just visually interesting. So the other thing you can do, and you see I have here, so I've just got all these watch lists just paired off, right? So I've got major indexes, which is your SPY, your Dow, all these. And then I've got the US equities, which is all of the different sectors. Then I just sort these periodically by what's up the most today. So pharmaceuticals up the most, followed by staples, followed by energy, and then down the most, you can see psychedelics, healthcare, biotechs, and then ARC, just because it's awful. Then yes, commodities. So I just break all these into different sectors. So every single one of these I go through every night, every weekend, and then at the end of every month as well.
All right, guys. Definitely a slowdown here, guys, but it's 10:55. We'll be wrapping up in just a second here, guys. Like always, you continue to battle with us throughout the week. We'll be back with Steve tomorrow. Then on Wednesday, we'll be joined by Tim. And I will give you guys a shout out. I haven't gotten the confirmation yet, but we're looking forward to seeing Andrew Moss back here on Thursday on 10:30. And the big part of that is, of course, don't forget, of course, Liberation Day coming April 2nd. So that's going to move the market regardless if we want it or not, guys. So we'll be watching for it. And of course, the big action will probably come on Wednesday. But what I'm looking for is on Thursday, as we start to get some calm down, some kind of uncertainty that have gone through the markets. What happens then, right? And I've talked about it. I think that's going to be the important day, right? Because still on Wednesday, you got that volatility day, right? So there could still be shakes both sides. I'm looking for some type of clear trend defining towards the end of the week. Thursday and Friday, I think, are the biggest days. Another thing is on Friday, we get a jobs report number that's massive. So keep your eyes on the action. MLGO did do that breakdown after the repeated break towards 23. So it did break back up there towards it. went back towards that breakout of 23s, then failed all the way back down towards the 21.
Yeah, you can see the blue arrow. That would have been the short trigger on that guy. Just went through my history, didn't do well, right? So
the Qs just don't want to do it, man. Now it's really building up more of that bear flag pattern, guys. So just be careful. We could see a quick sweep down here in tech. Yeah, it's just looking really weak right now, guys. Even though I'm in it, guys, I can tell you guys that I don't feel good about it. Let's just say that much.
Yeah, just right. The relatively weak to the market is we have the SPY continuing to hold for now. This kind of not pre-market high, but I'd say it's the most important pre-market level here. But the SPY just can't do it. Right.
We'll see if we get some bounce or not, man. Seems like the Bears are still winning here, and XLP still at the highs there, and definitely missed out on the Pepsi. Yeah, the Pepsi trade, man, it gone to 152.50. So at about $2 on there, could have maybe made $200 on that. So not a bad trade there in Pepsi today, guys. As we were looking at the defensive sectors and areas like that, we'll see what happens in the afternoon. Traders, stay safe out there. 10:59, we'll go ahead and get going here, but it ain't easy in this market. That is for certain. You got to be willing to have some adjustability, I think, in this market. Right.
Yeah, and when you're volatile like that, you have to. RSP just ticked green. So yeah, the average large cap stock is up on the day. But yeah, tech is just it's not helping us out.
Yeah, and it could change, right? I talked about that level of 462. I'll be watching for that all day long. We'll see what happens, guys. Like always, smash the like. We'll be back with you guys tomorrow. Keep battling in the markets. There's not only one way. There is one thing, though, certain. We'll be here battling along with you. See you guys back tomorrow morning.